Hey guys, happy Saturday. So I just thought since we are not doing Sassy Saturday tonight, I was kind of hanging out and I got a lot of work done today, which was actually really nice. Do you guys ever have those days where like you might spend them working all day, but like they're really quiet work days? And so you get a lot done during those work days. And even though you work all day, it actually feels pretty good to actually for once get work done without people bothering you all the time. Yeah, that was my day today. And it felt pretty great. And so I wanted to come and do a stream about Jordan Peterson and some thoughts that I have about Jordan Peterson. And I've been thinking about doing this stream for a minute. And then he put out this video about a week ago, I think, is when this video came out. Well, when did this video come out? Because time is meaningless anymore. Yeah, July 1st, so about a week ago. And I was just like a little incredulous on this entire Twitter ban thing. Now, let me start off with a preface. I have no animosity towards Jordan Peterson. I think that Jordan Peterson has been transformational in the lives of millions of people. I think he's done so much good work. Um, how I kind of approach things is oh, we've got haters in the chat. Hi haters. So just so you guys know, if you are a hater in my chat, I will not only respond to you, but if you are rude to me, I will block your ass so I never have to respond to you again. And I kind of figured I was going to get some of this on this stream because people like Wolf here like to make comments before they even actually know what I'm going to say, which I always think is interesting. I always think it's interesting when so-called conservatives, who are the people who they use logic and reason to make their decisions. They would never make assumptions about what people are going to say, are the ones that are like, stop being woke, we will unsubscribe from you if you don't tell us the things that we want to hear. So, Wolf, no, you're not going to get banned right now because you haven't been extremely rude yet, but keep it up, buddy, and we'll see what happens. Um, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Oh, now he really is gonna get blocked. Your channel has gone to complete garbage because you operate on emotion. Your emotions will always lead you astray from reality. This dude still has no idea what I'm actually gonna say. And this is actually like basically this guy right here is basically the epitome of why a stream like this would be necessary. It really is. This is the Wolf. You are making my point for me, buddy. You are literally making my point for me by just being a useful idiot and not even bothering to wait until I get a sentence out until you start insulting me in my chat. So here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. I come from the coaching world. And in the coaching world, there is a principle that you don't try as a coach. Here, let's get this asshole off the screen. So we don't care about him. He's going to get blocked in a second anyway. In the coaching world, there is a principle that you don't try to appeal to the broadest possible audience. You try to appeal to an audience that is going to be open to you, that is going to be best suited to receive information from you, that you are going to be able to best serve. Now, the problem with how my channel developed is that I have a lot of subscribers to my channel that are only here because they saw a PragerU video, or are only here because they know that I left the left but haven't really listened to a word I've said otherwise. They don't come and watch the content that I've been doing very consistently for the past 2 years. They don't look at my other channel, youtube.com/actively unwoke, to see the content that we do there. They're never going to read my book. They're never going to subscribe to the podcast. They're never actually going to go out and do things in the real world. They're only interested in insulting me and people like me, and then saying, I stopped listening to you months ago. Well, they're at the same time complaining in my chat. Now, I don't think that people like Wolf here are extremely useful people to have around. And the reason that I don't think that people like him are useful to have around is because they're not my audience. And so why would I care to take the time to appeal to these people who are not my audience. They're not my audience now. They never people are saying my camera is grainy. It's not my camera, it's YouTube. Hopefully YouTube fixes that. I'm getting let me hang on. Let me turn on my Wi-Fi. I might flicker a little bit, but I'll come back. I'll flicker a little bit. Maybe I'm still it's already getting better already, I think. And then we're going to continue talking about why I feel completely comfortable losing subscribers in a second. And people don't even know what I'm going to say yet. This is the most bizarre part of this whole thing. You guys actually have no idea what I'm going to say yet. You literally have no idea what I'm going to say. Oh, do I look is it better now? Oh, wait. Better? 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 Oh, I flickered. I'm back. I think I'm getting better. I switched my internet connection is what just happened. So I have like 3 different networks in the house, and if one doesn't work, then maybe one of the other ones would. So here's the thing. So back to what I was saying. I come from the coaching world, and in the coaching world, the what you are taught, and I have found this very consistently to be true, is that you don't try to appeal to the broadest possible audience. You want people to be a hell yes or a hell no about you. And being a hell no as this idiot clearly is, he doesn't like my content, and that's fine. But what I'm not gonna do is try to go out of my way to appeal to people like that by simply spoon feeding them the opinions that they want to hear over and over and over again. And that's exactly what I think Jordan Peterson is doing. I think Jordan Peterson, and see I'm pixelated and grainy. Okay, like, I can't really. I can keep changing the internet, but we're gonna try to have to work through this, guys. It is okay. All right, let's turn the Wi-Fi off. Let's turn the Wi-Fi off. I think that Jordan Peterson is transitioning to being a conservative pundit. And I really think it's a shame. I think it's a shame. And guys, if the quality isn't good, this is what I have. Like it actually looks fine on my end. So whatever is happening now is going through YouTube. It's not from my end, and hopefully it'll fix itself at some point in this stream. Um I think that Jordan Peterson, in this deal he has with the Daily Wire, is selling out to be a conservative pundit. Now, I'm open to being proven wrong about this. I actually genuinely hope I am wrong about this. I genuinely hope I am wrong, but I don't think I am. At least not at this point. Now, the reason that I say that is, so as a psychologist, Jordan Peterson he has had a monumental impact all over the world. Monumental impact, has impacted the lives of millions of people, especially young men, and young men needing this type of young men probably needing this type of role model more than anyone else at this point. And I've always thought that Jordan Peterson came to this and the success that he's had from a place of service. And I do think that was true. But I'm going to be honest, after he got sick and he went away and he came back, I think he got angry. And I think that there is a lot of reason that Jordan Peterson got angry. I think anyone in his position would probably be angry. And I think that that anger has now turned into something else where it doesn't to me feel like Jordan Peterson is coming from a place of service. What do I mean coming from a place of service? Um, you know, the reason that I keep doing this YouTube stuff is not because I care to be a YouTube person. It's not. I mean, most people who watch me regularly know this. That jackass that we blocked earlier, he doesn't know this. Like there are so many people on YouTube that only care about appealing to the broadest possible audience and getting the most views and the most clicks and all that stuff. That's not why I stayed in this. I stayed in this because YouTube, because of the platform that I kind of accidented my way into, YouTube gave me an opportunity to reach more people in a day than I was reaching in a month before this. That is an opportunity to serve a lot of people. That is an opportunity to get in front of I used to do, like, keynote presentations at these conferences, and I would present at some of, like, the biggest HR conferences, like, in the world, because that's, like, the industry that I was in. And, like, a really big room at the biggest HR conference in the world is about 1,000 people. Now, speaking in front of 1,000 people, that's a really cool thing, right? That's a really cool thing. But I reach more people in a single stream than I reach doing that. I reach more people today on a single stream than I ever reached on, like, presenting at all these conferences that were, like, big time gets, like, all the trainers wanted, like, the prime speaking slots in the best, biggest rooms, and even then, you're reaching maybe 1,000 people, and so having a platform, and my platform is minuscule compared to Jordan Peterson's. Having a platform gives you the opportunity to reach a lot of people and have the people that are, how I've approached it, most inclined to hear your work and to be open to what you have to offer. It gives you an opportunity to reach a lot of people in a single sitting. And that to me is the thing that has kept me in the game, because I think that if I can reach the right people, the people who would be open to the ideas that I have, that I want, that I'm sharing on these streams, that means that I can serve so many more people than I was able to before this. And service to me is one of the reasons you do something like this. And service, I believe, is what Jordan Peterson was doing when he wrote his book, when he wrote his first book. That was that book and that speaking tour and the videos that he did, and put, even before the book, even just putting his classes on YouTube, that was an act of service. And Jordan Peterson became successful because he was serving so many people. And it was a beautiful thing to watch, an audience that has not been well served. And I'm worried now that he's transitioning away from that. But I could be wrong about this. I could be wrong. I sincerely hope that Jordan Peterson is not becoming a conservative shill. I so desperately want to be wrong. I can't even tell you guys. So what we're going to do in this stream is we're going to talk about, well, first we're going to watch this video. We're going to watch the highly produced Daily Wire video. And we're going to talk about his reaction to his Twitter ban. And I have an issue with this in regards to the idea of service in and of itself. I'm going to talk to you about it a little bit more before we start this video. But I've got a couple of other videos here too, and people are sending me in super chats asking me questions. Guys, I will get to those super chats in a second, I promise. But that's not the only video I have pulled up to watch. So this video came out last week with him making this statement about his Twitter ban. We're going to watch that first. Then we're going to go back. We're gonna go back about a month ago. Now, I want to be clear. I've seen parts of this video. I have not seen this whole video in its entirety. So part of this video will not be a surprise to me. Most of it will be a surprise to me because I have not seen the whole thing in its entirety. But I did see enough to know that he called the doctors that operated on Elliot Page, and yes, I will use Elliot Page and I will use he, they pronouns, because I believe that every human being is worthy of basic respect and courtesy. So unless they do something to me, and Elliot Page hasn't done anything to me, and so I will use Elliot Page and I will use they, them pronouns. But I found this video. I know in the Twitter ban video, he talks about how he considers the doctors who operated on Elliot Page as an adult to be criminal. And so I went back a month ago. This video came out before Jordan Peterson got his Twitter ban, which isn't really a ban. He could get out of it at any minute. His Twitter ban. And so we're going to watch this second. And this is called Doctors and Psychotherapists, Butchers and Liars. We're going to watch the second. I have not watched this video at all. I have absolutely No idea what this video is gonna say, but I think it might add some context to the Twitter ban video that he did about a month after he recorded this one. And then after we watch that, the final thing we have is this video from Kyle Kalinski's channel, which is Jordan Peterson on trans right, Elliot Page controversy, and we're gonna watch this one as well. And this came out after his Twitter ban video. I'm reasonably positive. July 8th, July 1st. Yeah, so this video came out just like basically yesterday. So this is the last one that we're going to watch. So we're going to do the Twitter ban first because I think that that's a lot of context. Then we're going to go back and do this one which was filmed about a month before the Twitter ban, and then we're going to do this one which just came out yesterday. And on all of this, I have not watched this one either. I have no idea what this one is going to say. We're watching these because I have some thoughts and I kind of want to suss out, am I correct that Jordan Peterson has, well, sold out to become a conservative pundit? I hope I'm wrong. We'll see. Another thing I'm going to do, though, just so you guys know, is I just got some sushi. So we're going to have my sushi dinner. It's a shrimp tempura roll with some black fingers on top. I got some spicy yellowtail with some colorful fingers on top. And of course, a spicy tuna roll. I don't know if I'm going to eat all these, but I have all of them. You guys are going to have to watch me eat my dinner. You're just going to have to deal with it. And then also, I, of course, have my sake from yesterday, which is really great. Because it's Saturday. Hang on, I just coughed into the freaking mic. Sorry about that. Because it's Saturday, and we're going to chill. And we're going to have a chill Saturday night. And I'm going to get some water right the second before I hack up a lung into the camera. And guys, if you're gonna be a dick in my chat, you're gonna get blocked. And that's gonna be the way it is. It's gonna be the way it is. So cheers to everyone. Because I don't care about appealing to idiots on the internet. You're not my audience, dude. I have no problem blocking your ass if you're gonna have feelings about this. Feelings about me saying, oh my god, Jordan Peterson might be selling out to conservatives. Conservatives are like the logical ones until they don't actually wait to hear what someone has to say before insulting them, you know? They literally keep proving me right every single day about them. Well, guys, we're going to get into watching these videos, but I did get some questions in the super chats first. So I'm just going to go through and take some questions in the super chats, and we're going to get up to this point because I don't like waiting until the end to do super chats. I like doing them when they come in. So Bree says, what do I think of Dave Rubin? I think that Dave Rubin needs to spend more time with normal people. I think that Dave Rubin needs to talk to people who are not conservative influencers. And I hope that Dave Rubin continues his journey rather than selling out to conservatives to make money. But I think he's a good person. And I hope that he talks to more normal people in his life that are not content creators and conservative influencers and conservative politicians. Alex S says, would love it if you could have him on your channel. You're both psychologists, hopefully on the same side. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Nor quite frankly, would I want that spotlight on me. I really don't want that type of a that's no. That's not something that I want. It's just not. I don't think it would be particularly helpful to me. I don't think it would work out well for me. So, and I also just don't think, like, why would he come on my channel? Like, I'm no one. Like, that one doesn't even make sense. What do I think about Tim Pool? I think Tim Pool is exceptionally smart. I think Tim Pool is an exceptionally hard worker. I think that his knowledge is a mile wide and an inch deep. And that's not an insult, by the way. I think that that's just the way it has to be. He takes in so much information. Like, a lot of people have knowledge that's a mile wide and an inch deep. I would really, 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 really love for Tim Pool to learn a definition of critical race theory, any definition of critical race theory, and memorize it and stick to it and be consistent about using that definition of critical race theory. But other than that, I don't really have any problem with Tim Pool. Like I think he's very smart. I think he's very hardworking, and I think no one can really take that away from him. Okay, what did Tim actually say? I keep hearing about this. What did Tim actually say about him? Because I'm not going to go watch that whole episode. I don't care that much. But if someone wants to tell me what he actually said, that would be great. Cold Summer 91, what do you think about what happened with Bette Midler on Twitter? Oh my God, wasn't it glorious? Wasn't that a glorious sight to behold with what happened to her on Twitter? It was like she walked right into it. And she had no idea she walked right into it, but it was such an epic demonstration of what the woke left has become in regards to the gender issue. And just to be clear, guys, I mean, maybe this is a good opportunity before we get into the Jordan Peterson video. Like, I don't care if people are trans. I don't care if people are non binary. I think that adults should be able to do whatever they want to do with their bodies. It's their bodies. If they want to cut off a body part, it's not any of my business. They have to live with the consequences. If they want to go by he, they pronouns, personally, I think it's a little bit weird, but I will respect that because it's their life. And I think that every human being deserves a basic amount of respect and courtesy. And if they aren't trying to use it as some sort of power play over me, which I have no reason to believe that most people are using it as a power play over me. Like I've never actually run into an instance where someone has demanded I use their pronouns and I thought they were doing it in a way to get power over me. If they're not doing that, then I don't really care and I'll use their pronouns. Because you know what? I would really like people to pronounce my name correctly when I correct them and say it's not Carolyn or Caroline or Karen, it's Carlin. I would really like them to respect that. And it's like, if we can extend basic respect and courtesy to other people, then we should have no expectation. Then they should respect us in the same way. So I think that what happened to Bette Midler on Twitter is a classic example of someone on the woke left not realizing how far their side has gone in regards to some of these issues because there's a difference between normal average trans people and trans activists. Those are a completely different thing, and I think Bette Midler got hit right between the eyes with what is a trans activist. Let's see. Well, I'm really glad to hear that you're telling me I'm wrong when you literally haven't heard my argument yet. This is why I don't like YouTube. This is why I don't care if I lose subscribers. This is why right here I'm like, with subscribers like this, who really needs them? Let's see. I'm just scrolling through the chat, guys, making sure I got all the super chats. I think I may have missed one or two. There we go. Bree says, with Dave Rubin, do you think part of the problem is that there aren't many on the left who will talk to him? Nope, I don't think that that is part of the problem at all. I don't think that that is part of the problem at all. People on the left will talk to him. He's not, dude, I could deliver a list of people on the left to Dave Rubin who would talk to him today. The problem is that Dave Rubin doesn't want to talk to them for many reasons. For many reasons that have nothing to actually do with political sides. Let me see. Just scrolling through the chat, making sure I didn't miss anything. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into our videos. And I want to start off with, hang on, I need to get this one up, have it in a different way. There we go. So I want to start with this one. Now, what do I think about Jordan Peterson's? Now, here's what I think about Jordan Peterson's Twitter ban in general. And this is why I wanted to start off this stream talking about service. Because the reason that, I'm a psychologist, I'm not a clinical psychologist. Thank God I don't have to have a license because there are so many more things I would not be allowed to say if I was a licensed clinical psychologist, but I'm not. I'm an industrial organizational psychologist. And, well, you literally came in and told me I was wrong before you even listened to my argument. And so, yes, I didn't misunderstand you. You literally have not listened to my argument and you're already telling me I'm wrong. So don't complain and whine in my chat when you're coming in and being like, "You're wrong," and I haven't even said anything yet, dude. Come on. I call this bullshit out. Rutu Bet Miller doubled down too. Good for her. Good for her. So, and we're talking about coming from an act of service. Like, I think that Jordan Peterson was dumb about this Twitter ban. I'm going to say it. First off, I think that the tweet that he sent was unnecessary and added really not a whole heck of a lot to the conversation. But he should be allowed to send it. I'm not suggesting that I think that there was anything wrong with Jordan Peterson just sending the tweet. He should be allowed to think whatever he wants. He should be allowed to tweet whatever he wants on that platform within reason. I don't want Twitter to become like Gab or anything. That's like Gab is like a hellhole cesspool that is 1,000 times worse than Twitter. That's what I mean when I say within reason. I don't want Twitter to become like Gab, but I do think that Twitter was wrong for locking his account over this. I don't think the tweet should have been banned. I think it's stupid, but it's also one of those things that if you're on Twitter, I think you have a very distinct sense of what is allowed and what is not allowed. And I think that this is a stupid thing for him to dig his heels in over. And the reason I say that is Jordan Peterson has the ability every single day on Twitter to impact the lives of millions of people, and particularly young men. He has the ability to impact the lives of millions and millions of people by guiding them in exactly the same way that he's done with both of his books. And that to me is a higher virtue and a higher priority than owning the libs who run Twitter by getting himself kicked off the site for tweeting Ellen Page rather than Elliot Page, or using the wrong pronouns. The impact that Jordan Peterson would be able to have on the world in terms of helping people to focus their energy, helping people to live more fulfilling experiences, that should be a higher priority than owning the libs. The only realm in which that is not a higher priority for a clinical psychologist is when is the eventuality in which he sells out to be a conservative shill. And I think it was a really dumb decision of him to dig in his heels and say, screw all these people whose lives I might be able to positively impact because I want to be able to tweet Ellen Page rather than Elliot Page. It seems like something a petulant child would do. And I think that that's a shame. I think it's a shame. Way more money in this than as a professor. Well, yeah, I mean, I think there is way more money than this, but I don't know that. Listen, Jordan Peterson is doing just fine financially, and Jordan Peterson could continue to do fine financially while serving the millions of people that he could serve to help improve their lives in a positive manner. And to me, this really just feels like he's throwing that act of service away in order to own the libs, in order to fight a battle that on Twitter, he's not going to win. And I know that disappoints everyone. And again, I'm not saying that I like Twitter or Twitter's actions, and I don't think it's fair that his account got locked over this. And I don't agree with any of that. I don't agree with Twitter's censorship. I'm not on board with any of that at all. I am not defending that. What I am saying is that there are higher purposes in life than owning the libs. And if that means that Jordan Peterson needs to suck it up and delete a tweet so that he can continue to impact the lives of millions of people in a positive way, then you suck it up, you put on your big boy pants, and you delete the fucking tweet. Because people might say, Peterson would be selling out if he complied with Twitter censorship. No, dude. No. That is a child's argument. That is a fool's argument. That is a foolish thing to say. It's not selling out to delete a tweet so that you can continue to serve millions and millions and millions of people and help improve their lives. I'm sorry. What this response is the response of a sullen teenager that didn't get their way. And I think it's too bad. And I do wonder if it would have happened, if this response would have happened if he hadn't joined the Daily Wire. Now, people who watch me regularly know this. People who watch me regularly know this. They know that I'm not a fan of the Daily Wire. I think the Daily Wire is a shill organization that is only designed to maintain the status of the people at the Daily Wire. I think there are good people at the Daily Wire. I don't think everyone at the Daily Wire sucks. I think Luke Rosiak is very, very good. I think Clavin is fine. I think Knowles is fine. But I think that the Daily Wire is a shill organization that is controlled opposition at best. And so, yeah, I'm a little disappointed that Jordan Peterson is joining it because he is smart enough to know better. And it seems to me that from this Twitter ban video, in the few bits that I saw of it, he is completing his metamorphosis into Daily Wire shill, which means that he's no longer going to be able to serve the world in the same way that he was before. And that means that it's a loss for all of us. That's like saying it's selling out to adhere to YouTube's rules. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's true. Like, listen, there are things I can't talk about on YouTube, and it's just the way it is. If I want to continue to be platformed on YouTube and I want to continue to be monetized on YouTube, then there are things that I can't talk about. And, you make sacrifices. You make sacrifices for the greater good. And you know what? This is something that conservatives don't understand. This, I think, is something that conservatives don't understand, is that sometimes you have to prioritize. And sometimes prioritizing means that you don't say things that are going to get in the way of the larger goal. Mimic Hero, since I yelled at you earlier, says, I'll display this. I'm not the biggest fan of you, Carlin, meaning I don't agree with a number of things you've said, but there are things we agree on it as well, and I admire you for. Well, you know what? I mean, the thing of it is, and I do appreciate this, but I would hope that, you know, I would really hope that it wouldn't take agreement with you in order to admire someone. I admire people I disagree with all the time. I admire Jordan Peterson. Part of the reason I'm doing this stream is because I greatly admire Jordan Peterson. I am in awe of the amount of service this guy has been able to do in the world. The amount of lives he's been able to touch, the amount of lives he's been able to improve. I'm in awe of what he's done. Which is why it's really sad to me and really disheartening if he is indeed morphing into a conservative shill. It just seems childish. So let's get into the stream. But actually, before we get into the stream, I want to let everyone know. So this is like an impromptu thing that I decided to do. Of course, guys, my streaming is one of the ways that I'm able to do the work that I do in terms of streaming pretty much every single day of the week. But the other way that I'm able to do this is by running my locals community. Now, on my locals today, we just had a bitchcraft, which is an open Zoom call. We do them once a month where we get on a Zoom call and we craft and we bitch and talk to each other and just have a private moment. These are unrecorded calls where you can talk about whatever you want. And I've decided for the month of July. I haven't done a locals promo in a while. If you would like to get into my locals community and interact with me directly and participate in the community Zoom calls that I do, one of the ways you can do that is by becoming a supporter. Normally, it's $5 a month to become a supporter, but for the rest of July, if you use the promo code July when you head over to kb.locals.com/support, you'll be able to get a month free. So you can come in and have a conversation, and regardless of what idiots like this guy is saying, Carlin will ban anyone with an opposing view. That's just not true. We have heated conversations all the time in my locals. In fact, many people in my that are here in my locals right now will testify to the fact that you are allowed to disagree with me. You're even allowed to yell at me, but you're not allowed to insult me or be a douche. And that's why you're getting blocked, dude. Goodbye to you. Goodbye to you. Thank you, Charles Boyd, for the super chat. But if you guys want to check my locals out, you can head over to kb.locals.com/support. Use the promo code July, and you will be able to get advantage of all the perks and all that good stuff. And I don't really care to shield too much on that right now because I want to get into the video. Let's see. Alex says, Carlin doesn't immediately ban people from locals. Well, I did ban that pedophile. When that pedo guy tried to join my locals and I knew he was a pedophile because I had seen his arrest record, I did ban that guy. Instantly upon me seeing he had joined my locals. But that is literally the only person I have ever immediately banned from my locals was a legitimate pedophile whose arrest record I had literally seen. And I feel okay about that decision. All right, guys, let's get into this video, and I'm going to eat some sushi and have some sake, and we're going to talk about it because you're sick of hearing me talk. So let's start with this.
Hello, everyone. A few days ago, I penned an irritated tweet in response to one of the latest happenings on the increasingly heated culture war front. In response to the decision of an actor named Ellen Elliott Page.
So I want to start off by saying one of the ways that I saw part of this video was I was watching Sitch and Adam's reaction to it today. I think they posted like a video of a clip from it. So I have seen part of their reaction video, but I try not to watch too much of it because I didn't want their reaction to influence mine. But I will say one of the things they said and that I agree with completely is that, Charles, thank you again for the $5. I feel like you're trying to write something in the super chats and it's just not working out, but I appreciate the money. I will say that one of the things I absolutely agree with that Sitch and Adam were talking about on their show was that this is a highly produced video from the Daily Wire. This is not a Jordan Peterson looking into his webcam, kind of talking about his ideas about why he won't delete this tweet. This is a highly produced video. There were staff hired to film this video. There was probably a script for this video. It is not a normal Jordan Peterson kind of like just generic like statement, right? And that already leads me to believe that he's morphing in to a conservative shill, which makes me upset because I feel like that's going to inhibit what he's doing. Listen, man, if I send a tweet that gets me in trouble, as I've been known, Mary, I'll talk about whatever the fuck I want. You can cool your jets. In fact, you're getting put in a timeout. So if I send a tweet that gets me into trouble, as has been known to happen from time to time, you know what I do? I turn on my webcam, I start streaming, and I say, here is what I actually meant by that tweet. I don't go and script a highly performative video rationalizing why I should be allowed to tweet whatever I want to tweet and having a script and a staff and a production value. Like, to me, it just seems really, 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 really inauthentic. And, you know, I guess what I do appreciate, because I'll throw him a bone, I appreciate that he doubled down. I don't think that Jordan Peterson should bend the knee out of hand, but this to me feels like the wrong. It feels like it's okay to say I tweeted what I tweeted and I'm not sorry about it. But it is another thing entirely to say, you know, "F you if you don't agree with me, and you're horrible villains and criminals if you don't agree with me." Like, that's a completely kinda, like, different thing. Anyway, let's keep going.
I am employing this awkward and impossible naming style because it is now apparently mandatory and am probably doing it wrong nonetheless, as you're doing it wrong is the whole point of what is being made mandatory. But also, I'm trying to make a point. I've essentially been banned from Twitter as a consequence.
He has not been banned from Twitter. He could delete that tweet and get his Twitter account back, and everything would be fine. I had to delete that Holocaust tweet, and I wasn't glorifying the Holocaust or Hitler at all. But I deleted the tweet, even though I do not regret the tweet. I don't regret it in any way. I stand behind it 100%. I don't regret that tweet, and I deleted it because I had to do it to get my fucking account back. Because sometimes you do things because it's for the greater good. No, Brian, you are incorrect. I did not use PragerU as a speaking platform. In fact, I really regret my PragerU video. I kind of wish I had never done it. I did a PragerU video as an act of service. I did a PragerU video because I knew that my story inspired a lot of people, and I wanted to use it to inspire more people, to help people see that people on the left can wake up and can change their minds. So, no, I absolutely did not use PragerU as a speaking platform. They used me to advance a narrative. And as soon as I became inconvenient for that narrative, they backed off. And I really regret ever doing that video, because if I knew then what I know now, never would have done it. Never would have gotten involved. For the same reason that I question why Jordan Peterson's getting involved with the Daily Wire. I will never be a shill for conservatives ever, ever, ever again, because they do not appreciate it at all.
I say banned, although technically I have been suspended. But the suspension will not be lifted unless I delete the hateful tweet in question, and I would rather die than do that.
I'd rather die than delete a tweet. This is where I start to be like, dude, you've lost the fucking plot. It is a tweet. It is so inconsequential. Oh shit! I just put soy sauce on. I spilled some soy sauce on some yarn. This is like this is a knitting emergency. I was putting soy sauce on my sushi and I spilled it on my yarn. No, dude, it's a tweet. It is a tweet. A tweet that is inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. And to say that I'm not going to serve the millions of people that I could serve because I want to dig in my heels over an effing tweet. And I would rather die. I would rather die than delete a tweet. Dude, come on, Jordan. Come on. It's just like it is a disproportional reaction for what it actually is. Yes, speaking of soy, I did literally just spill soy sauce on my desk. I did. But soy sauce is delicious and I'm not regretful of it.
And hopefully it will not come to that, although who the hell knows in these increasingly strange days. What was it that I said that caused such a fuss? And that fuss is just beginning. And even more importantly and complexly, what exactly was it that I said that resulted in the ban? Here's the tweet in question. Remember when pride was a sin? And Ellen Page just had her breasts removed by a criminal physician.
All right, let's talk about this tweet. Elliot Page is well over the age of 18. So why are we saying that the physician who removed her breasts, sorry, god damn it, fucking misgendered. I didn't mean to do that. Their breasts, whatever the hell. See, I understand the point Jordan Peterson is making about the nonsensical, like, pronouns and, like, things. I totally understand that point. That is not what's at issue here. But to say the doctor who did that surgery is criminal, that is completely fucking irresponsible. That is completely fucking irresponsible. Why? Elliot Page has gender dysphoria. Transitioning to live as the way you see yourself is a psychological treatment for gender dysphoria. And Jordan Peterson knows this because Jordan Peterson is a clinical psychologist. So to say that an adult, after years of thought and hopefully therapy, making a decision about doing something with their body is a criminal act simply because you don't like having to use different pronouns for them, this tweet was just bad all around. And it makes Jordan Peterson look like exactly the thing that the left says he is. Now, I understand philosophically the point that Jordan Peterson is making about compelled speech. However, there's no added value to the world in keeping in this tweet. This tweet is not life-changing. This tweet is not a profound comment on our times. This tweet is Jordan Peterson complaining on Twitter. That's all it is. There is absolutely no reason that he should have to or even want to give up Twitter as a platform where he can reach millions of people for the sake of keeping this specific tweet up. And it's a bad tweet to begin with, because as a psychologist, he should know that one of the treatments for gender dysphoria, which Elliot Page has, is to live as the gender that you see yourself. Now, I don't think anyone who has ever watched Elliot Page in an interview before they transitioned, or even now, quite frankly, I don't think anyone that has ever watched that person do an interview before or after transition can look at that person and say they are a happy person. They weren't a happy person. They weren't. They weren't a happy person in interviews when they were still a woman. They are not happy in interviews now. There is something deeply psychologically wrong with that person. Is it gender dysphoria? I have absolutely no idea because I'm not that person's therapist. But you know what? Jordan Peterson isn't that person's therapist either. He's not. And if it helps Elliot Page to live a happier and more fulfilled life, living and presenting in a more masculine way, then they are an adult and they are over 18 and they should be allowed to do that. It is their body. And so for him to say that the physician that did this is a criminal, I'm sorry, is grossly, grossly, grossly irresponsible. And this to me is emblematic of what's going on the right now. Listen, there are serious problems in regards to people pretending to be drag queens in order to get close to children. There are serious problems with trans activists who are wreaking havoc on all sorts of things. But what is not and should not be a serious problem are average, everyday trans people who are just trying to live their lives. And they're getting sucked into this trans activism thing by sheer virtue of just trying to live their lives. And I'm growing increasingly concerned that people on the right, quite frankly, just hate trans people in general, all of them, because there seems to be no distinction between your normal trans people that just want to live their lives and have a more fulfilling experience and trans activists. And Jordan Peterson, with his millions of followers, seems to be dumping them all in the same bucket. It is really irresponsible for him to say that this person is a criminal for performing top surgery on an adult. On an adult. That paints all trans people in a really awful light, when most of them are just trying to live their lives, and most of them will tell you that living as the gender that they see themselves as in their head because they have gender dysphoria has provided a great improvement to their lives. And why wouldn't we want that? Why wouldn't we want that? I want Elliot Page to be happy. I want everyone to be happy. I don't have to agree with their life choices in order to want them to be happy. And I'm sure as shit not going to send a tweet calling their physician a criminal because they made life choices that I wouldn't approve of.
Then a link to a story that detailed out the happenings. The response from Twitter, quote, violating our rules against hateful conduct. You may not promote violence against, threaten, or harass other people on the basis of race, ethnicity, national origin, sexual orientation, gender, gender identity, religious affiliation, age, disability, or serious disease. By clicking delete, you acknowledge that your tweet violated the Twitter rules. Delete. If you think we've made a mistake, submit an appeal to us. Please note that should you do so, your account will remain locked while we review your appeal. Let's take this apart.
So I want to point out someone in the chat. This is what I'm seeing an awful lot of on the right. The right is turning into the monster that the left has always said that they were. The right didn't have a problem with trans people in 2020. The right did not have a problem with normal trans people in 2020. Not the way they do now. And this type of attitude right here is what is going to absolutely sink the right in terms of the culture war. And not only that, but it looks really, really bad. It looks really bad. Now, where Jordan Peterson is correct is that Twitter's rules are made up and stupid. I will agree with him on that. I will agree with him that they probably don't accurately describe the tweet that he sent in any way, shape, or form. But again, he's not going to change that in the way that he's going about this. He's not.
First, it is clearly the case that I did not promote violence against or threaten anyone with my missive. So that leaves the arguably lesser sin of harass. Let's assume, since I wasn't informed, that...
All right, I'm going to answer a question in the chat because inevitably this is going to come up and inevitably I'm going to have to answer it 8,000 times. For people who are new and don't regularly watch my content, because I have answered this question before, no, I am not in any way, shape, or form comfortable with children medically transitioning. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with them going on puberty blockers. And I'm sure as shit not comfortable with them having surgery. However, Elliot Page is an adult. Elliot Page has been an adult for a really long time. Elliot Page probably thought for years about this because they seemed to be really upset for a lot of years before they actually transitioned. And so do I think that Elliot Page can do whatever the hell they want with their own body? Yes. It is not any of my business. And I think that they were kind of forced into a position. I don't know if they actually wanted to be an activist. I don't know if they did. But I think that they were forced into a position of needing to be public about this simply because of who they were. Maybe in another universe where Elliot Page wasn't a world famous actor, they could have transitioned quietly and have kept it to themselves. But that was not the position that they were in. And so I don't think there was any other way but to transition on the world stage for them in the position that they're in. And I don't think that's through any fault of their own. They became an actor a long time ago. Like maybe they had no idea Who really knows? But no, I do not believe that children should be medically transitioned before they are 18. However, after they're 18, it's their body. They can do what they want with it. It is none of my business, and it's no one else's business as well.
Was the crime. And further, harassment on the basis of so-called gender identity. Since Twitter did not do me the favor of actually specifying my crime, and there are many possibilities on that front, we unfortunately have to guess at why this has occurred. And that's actually a big problem in and of itself, and also indicative of the utter carelessness of the Twitter organization with regard to the propriety of its own censorial actions. I should at least know exactly what I did wrong if I'm required to acknowledge that my tweet violated the Twitter rules.
He's right about that. That's a legitimate beef. He should know exactly and explicitly what he did wrong. Twitter's awful about this. Twitter doesn't explain when you get banned. They don't explain exactly what you did wrong or how you violated it. And even if you can prove, say, no, I didn't actually violate your policy, they don't listen. They don't ban people who are clearly violating their policy. Twitter is an awful company. This is not a defense of Twitter in any way. I think that the world would be a much better place if Elon Musk actually went through with the Twitter deal and then burned it to the ground. But that doesn't actually excuse the position that Jordan Peterson is taking on this. Just because Twitter is bad doesn't mean that Jordan Peterson is inherently good in what he's doing.
What rules, you sons of bitches? Exactly. Precisely. Because such things matter when the accusations start flying.
Yes, precision does matter. Precision does matter, which is why I think that the way Jordan Peterson is going about this is a little bit ironic. Because his language in that tweet was not precise. And he literally wrote a book in which he talked about precision of language and is now demanding that Twitter adhere to precision of language. Now, that all matters in a context when Jordan Peterson is trying to be an ethically honest person. None of that matters in a context when Jordan Peterson has morphed into conservative shill. So he may not even care about that anymore. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Does Jordan Peterson continue to care about being ethically honest? Because based on this whole fiasco with that tweet, and based on what I've seen so far in this video, I'm not sure. I think that he is very angry with a lot of things, and that anger is manifesting in weird and unproductive ways.
So what did I say that might constitute harassment? Well, many things, hypothetically. Let's begin with, remember when pride was a sin? Although that is merely a factual statement, because under the old rules applicable even a decade ago, pride was a sin and had been recognized as perhaps the cardinal sin for thousands of years previously. It still might be regarded as unacceptable to the woke authoritarian moralists who now insist, for example, that we celebrate.
Well, what do you call this though, Jordan? You're making a whole video, dude, in which you're being inherently prideful over a tweet and refusing to delete a fucking tweet and continuing to serve the world on a platform where you have millions of followers purely out of pride. This is an ego-driven exercise. So don't, again, it just comes across as deeply hypocritical when he's lecturing us about pride is a sin, possibly the greatest sin, but pride is exactly what he's exhibiting in this video when he's angry about the fact that he had to delete a tweet in order to get his account back. That's an inherently prideful action.
Pride Month, not hour or day or week, but month, and to have literally called it Pride Month instead of LGBT plus month or whatever else alphabet acronym which is currently insisted upon as the only acceptable enlightened terminology. I don't regard pride as a virtue. It has been classically regarded as a sin. I don't see that sexual orientation or sexual desire of any sort is something to celebrate or to take pride in. And so what I said was merely a fact. Now, it's possible that I hurt someone's
But it's
feelings.
called pride out of tradition because it spouted up when people hated gay people a whole lot more than they do now. Now, again, I'm not in favor of this Pride Month bullshit. I think that it is nothing more than a way to sell lots of merchandise with rainbows on it. I don't think it has anything to do with gay and lesbian people at all. And I really don't think it's something that should even exist. I think it's stupid. But there is a reason it's called pride. And the reason is the history and context leading up to where we are now, when it used to be a rebellion against people who were telling gay and lesbian people that they were less than human and basically shouldn't even be allowed to live. There was a time like that. I don't know how old you guys are in the chat, but I do remember this. I remember this. And I'm not like, and there are people that are older than me that remember when it was even worse than what I remember it as. And so, is it dumb now? Yes, of course it is. And it's only hurting LGBT acceptance. It's not actually helping the situation in any way. But there is a reason that it's called pride, and he is ignoring all of the history leading up to that reason now to be a shill for the Daily fucking Wire.
Because I pointed out that pride goes before, for example, a fall.
That's not what you were doing in that tweet, Jordan.
That would do it again. And also consider it my duty to warn those who are about to fall into a pit that the path they are on leads suddenly downhill. But that was probably not the reason that I was banned from Twitter, although, as I said, I am in the position of having to guess. Next phrase to interrogate. And Ellen Page. Now, why did I stop there? Because in all likelihood, it was this seemingly innocuous phrase, including the name of a well-known actress, there I'm in trouble again, that likely resulted in my ban. I committed the fatal crime of what has come to be known in the appalling sensorial terminology of the insane activists as dead naming, which is the act of referring to someone who has transitioned, another hated piece of jargon and slogan, by the name and by the inference, the gender, really the sex, that everyone knew them by previously, and in the case of Ellen/Elliot, that millions of people recognized and knew. So I should have either called him...
But you did it deliberately, Jordan. You did it deliberately to make a point, and that point was met with a suspension, which you knew was going to happen. Now, if he was innocent, if I thought that he was innocently making this point, we would be having a whole other discussion right now. But the only reason that Jordan Peterson would have tweeted that tweet worded in that way after he wrote a book in which he had a whole chapter about the precision of language, the only reason that Jordan Peterson would have tweeted that tweet in that way is to make a political point. And I would have a whole lot more respect for him if he had done a video saying, I was making a political point and I'm not sorry, I would do it again. Because that's obviously and clearly what he was doing. He obviously and clearly knew that he was going to get in trouble for tweeting that, because that is the way that Twitter works. He knew what was going to happen. He knew what the consequence would be, and he did it on purpose to elicit a response. Maybe Jordan Peterson even deliberately tweeted that in order to promote his Daily Wire deal with this video. It honestly wouldn't really surprise me. I actually hadn't thought of that before just now. It would not surprise me if Jordan Peterson deliberately tweeted that in order to get suspended, which he knew would happen, in order to make a video like this to promote his new deal with the Daily Wire. It would not... Okay. You know JP has always been against anything that encroached on free speech, right? Well, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Which is precisely the point I'm making. That's exactly the point I'm making. He knew what would happen if he tweeted that. He was making a political point. And maybe it was just to promote this thing. I don't know. I kind of hope that's not it. But if this is the hill he's going to die on when he could be serving millions and millions of people, that doesn't feel good to me. If he did all of this just to create a promotional video for the Daily Wire, then that doesn't feel good to me. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
Her, they, Elliot, instead of Ellen, although as we will discover, that would have made it impossible for me to say what I wanted to and need to say in the remaining phrases. Not that such a problem would bother those who are objecting to my speech in the first place. The next phrase is, just had her breasts removed. This bit suffers from a very similar problem. I employed the forbidden pronoun her when Elliot, Ellen, is now to be regarded as a he or else. But there's a conundrum here, to say the least, and not just for me, although I have been banned because of it. Was Elliot / Ellen a she or a he, or Ellen or Elliot, when she or he or they, that's Elliot or Elian, by the way, had his or her or their breasts removed? If he or she was a he, then why was it necessary to have the mastectomy?
I disagree. I think most of his venom is aimed at Elliot because he sees him as a trans activist. Why? Why would Elliot Page have any relevance at all in Jordan Peterson's life? Elliot Page has zero relevance. And why would Jordan Peterson, who is a clinical psychologist, spend any time being angry at someone that he does not know and has no relevance in his life at all? Of all people, Jordan Peterson should know better than this. There is absolutely no value in him being angry at Elliot Page. And so if he is carrying around anger, he might blame it on Elliot Page, but Jordan Peterson is a psychologist and should know enough to know that his anger has absolutely nothing to do with Elliot Page, has to do with something else, and he's projecting it onto Elliot Page because that is the convenient cop-out. But it is not because of Elliot Page that Jordan Peterson is angry. Graphically, Alex stirred feelings in me. I didn't know I had. I love him. Oh, well, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice, Hunter? Welcome to the channel. It's good to see you. Good to see you.
And how could those I am writing to make sense of what I was saying if it was his breasts that were removed? Were those male breasts or female breasts that were removed? If they were male breasts, then why were they removed?
Why is he so angry? Jordan Peterson could have filmed this video in any number of ways, but he is coming across to me as incredibly angry for something that isn't even surprising. It is not surprising that Jordan Peterson got banned from Twitter over this. It is not surprising that this was the outcome. So why is he angry about it? Well, I think he's angry because he's putting on a little show. I think he's angry because he has a director sitting right in front of him, watching what he's doing because this is a highly produced video. He has a director that is telling him, Jordan, you need to be more angry. Oh, now the haters are really coming. As a reminder, guys, if you insult me, you will be blocked, and I'm not going to actually feel that sorry about it because you aren't one of my normal viewers anyway, and you're not someone I ever care about appealing to. Why would Jordan Peterson be so angry about this? This is not new information. This has been going on for years. He is being directed to be angry by whoever is directing this video, and I think we'll see at the end that the person directing this video is from the Daily Wire. This is nothing more than a commercial. That's what this is. And that's why I question everything around what he's doing now. Because this is nothing more than a commercial for the Daily Wire.
They were female breasts and had therefore become objectionable to the degree that surgery generally reserved for cancer treatment was required, was morally obligatory, then wasn't Elliot still Ellen and he still she? How could I possibly have written that sentence in any sensible manner whatsoever, while simultaneously making my point understandably and not breaking Twitter rules against so-called hateful conduct? And Elliot Page just had his breasts removed. Was he Elliot then? When exactly? Exactly. He was definitely Ellen at some point in the past, or so indicate all his, her, them, their film credits. Will all those have to be reshot since they employed the hated dead name? That doesn't exist, by the way, that dead name category, except in this sensorial.
JP says, Brian says, JP has been fired up in many of his previous videos. Brian, are you really going to be foolish enough to tell me that Jordan Peterson didn't have a director for this video? Who paid for this video? Who set up this little stage that he's on? Who had the lighting so perfectly? And do you notice how it's lit from the back, which means they had light sitting behind him just to have that tiniest of light, just to make sure that he was distinguished from the dark backdrop? Who filmed this video? Who edited this video? You think all that happens without a director sitting there? Who wrote the script for this video? Do you think that this wasn't scripted? Of course it was. He was reading off a teleprompter. This is a commercial. That's all this is. It's a commercial. And if you really think that it's not, then you're not paying attention to what we're looking at right now.
And addled minds of a tiny fraction of insanely narcissistic and increasingly dangerous trans activists. When precisely was it incumbent on me to switch my terminology in regard to Elliot/Ellen so that I was not engaging in hateful conduct? And how can I describe the fact that someone who was once a woman, and really still is, had her breasts cut off?
Do you guys have any idea how many takes they probably did this video? This isn't just looking into a webcam and doing... I don't have a script right now. I am looking into a webcam and I'm saying whatever pops into my head. I don't have anyone here saying, Carlin, do that hand gesture a little bit differently, or just enunciate this syllable instead of this syllable. This is what I learned when I did my PragerU video. There is someone sitting right there saying, enunciate this, don't enunciate that, do this with your hands, do that with your hands, look here, not there, have your face like leveled like this, not like this, like this. And they shoot over and over and over and over and over again until they get something that they can edit together to be exactly the product that they want to make. Of course, this was all scripted. Now, Jordan Peterson probably had a hand in writing this script. Jordan Peterson probably had final approval over this script. But that doesn't mean that there weren't multiple takes of this to make sure it was exactly what they wanted it to be for this well-produced commercial for the Daily Wire. If you guys think this isn't selling you on something, then you're going to be taken advantage of.
Because she, he, they, their, them had fallen prey to a viciously harmful fad without using...
When he's leaning in like this, the director probably told him, they're like, lean in, Jordan, get angry. Get in just for this moment, just lean in just to really enunciate this point. This is all directed, guys.
Appropriate sex-linked pronoun and the real name of the real person to whom this was really done, with his, her, their voluntary but unfortunate acquiescence.
Hang on. A commercial that got the world's attention? Are you serious? No one's watching this that doesn't know who Jordan Peterson is. This didn't introduce Jordan Peterson to any new audience that got the world's attention, Josh, really? What new audience did this introduce Jordan Peterson to? All this did was introduce Jordan Peterson's audience to the Daily Wire. That's all this did. This did not get the word. This got, what, 3 million views? Dude, 3 million views? Jordan Peterson has 5 million subs on his channel. This didn't even get all the subs on this channel. This didn't change a single person's mind. All this did was get people to give their money to the Daily Wire.
And so it was impossible to communicate what had happened to my audience without apparently running afoul of the impossible and absurd rules that now hypothetically govern morality itself in the days of the degenerated postmodern and Marxist ethos that we must still, no matter how impossible it is, abide by or else. And you might object, Ellen/Elliot is an adult, 30 something, and
yes,
fully
they're an
capable
adult.
of making
exactly.
up his, her, their own mind about such things. And she, he, they are welcome from the liberal and the libertarian position to go to hell in a handbasket as she, he.
Yes, exactly, Jordan. And this is why I think he's becoming a conservative shill, right here. For those of you who say Jordan Peterson is a centrist, well, guess what Jordan Peterson just did? Jordan Peterson basically just said, fuck off to every liberal and every libertarian watching this video who believes that Elliot Page should be able to do whatever they want to do with their adult human body. Jordan Peterson is telling everyone who believes that you can do whatever you want to do with your body as an adult, that he just doesn't care for your life choices, and he will judge you harshly if you don't make the choices that he wants you to make. And as a clinical psychologist, that's really not what he should be doing. He just declared himself to be a conservative shill and told every centrist, every moderate, every liberal, every libertarian that he doesn't care if you're an adult, and he doesn't care if it's just your body and it doesn't affect him at all in any way. That he is the one that is right, and he is the one that is moral, and he is the one that knows how to live life, and everyone should bow to his whim, or at least sign up and pay money to the Daily Wire. Oh. Mimic, you thought I was joking when I said I would block you if you insulted me. Bye-bye.
They see fit. And fair enough, to some degree. But I don't believe it is either merely picayune or inappropriate to point out that Ellen/Elliot, who is quite a good actor/actress, is also a ritual model for emulation, being a star with all the privileges and, let us point out, the responsibilities that go.
Yes, Jordan, let's talk about responsibilities. Let's talk about the responsibilities of being a role model for emulation. Because you are walking away from millions of people whose lives you could positively impact by refusing to delete a tweet. By refusing to delete a tweet. Let's talk about the responsibility of that. He could serve so many people with his platform because an adult did something with their own body that doesn't impact anyone else that he doesn't approve of. Nat D, he's just being a smartass now with the pronouns. Well, I mean, that's the other thing, too. It's like, yes, Jordan, we get it. We get it. You don't like compelled speech. You don't like pronouns, but it's coming across, I'm sorry, it's coming across really bad. It is coming across as he is making fun of and mocking all trans people, which is exactly the person that the left wants him to be. And I have to wonder if this is because he's going with the Daily Wire. I have to wonder if he's doing this to toe the conservative line. And that makes me really sad. So much good he could do in the world, and he's choosing to do this instead.
Go along with that. So by acquiescing to this surgery and by publicizing it, by insisting upon the sanctity and the moral virtue of his, her, their new, expensive, dangerous, and medically enhanced identity, and by participating in the whole identity charade, Ellen/Elliot has undoubtedly, with his, their so-called courage. And remember, the White House itself has tweeted out every indication of believing in the courage of those who transition, enticed many a poor, confused adolescent, girl most likely, to blame her emergent pubescent self-consciousness, confusion, and discomfort
Yes,
on.
Jordan, all those things are important, which is why I'm very confused about why you're giving up a platform in which you could get millions of views to help these people. If all of this is so important, if all of those girls who are getting pulled into this is so important to you and such a critical emergency, then why are you giving up a platform where you have millions of followers, where you could help people, where you could reach people, where you could focus on preventing this sort of bullshit in a very real way? Why are you giving all that up to be stubborn over a tweet? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Delete the fucking tweet and help the audience that you can. That is a much better value than shitting on people who disagree with you and saying, fuck off, I'm going to go film a commercial to go for the Daily Wire. It just makes no sense to me at all. Makes no sense. He looks awful in this video, guys. I am sorry. If this video was my first introduction to who Jordan Peterson was, I'd be like, what the fuck is this? This is not a compelling reason to leave the left. That's truly how I feel about it. Like, he looks like exactly like the left has painted him as. This is like, this video was probably like Christmas morning for trans activists. They were like, look, we always told you Jordan Peterson was transphobic. Look at this video in which he says things that can so easily be misconstrued as being transphobic. This was a gift that he gave them on a silver platter for no good reason other than he's promoting the Daily Wire. Jordan Peterson's work got me out of a slump after a breakup. I think he is easily influenced and more sensitive than he puts on. He's not authentic right now. I don't believe that this is authentic Jordan Peterson at all. I believe this is the director sitting right in front of him, telling him exactly what to say and how to say it. And it's because I believe Jordan Peterson's work is so important that I'm so pissed off that this is what he chose to do. Now, we've got a couple other videos to watch today. We're going to watch one that was filmed a month ahead of this video, and we're going to watch one that just came out yesterday. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm open to being wrong. But right now, this is not someone who I would point to and say, you've got to watch Jordan Peterson. He's so great. He's so reasonable. He has the keys to living a great life. I wouldn't point to him for that right now. And I think it's really, really bizarre.
Being born in the wrong body and believing that the courageous, self-affirming, and morally admirable route is hormonal treatment, sterilization, subjugation to a lifetime of expensive medical complications.
Hang on. Alex is making a great point in the chat. If he was going to comment on anything at all, it should be about the censorship. Yes. I would have had no problem at all had Jordan Peterson made a commercial talking about the censorship of Twitter. Because Twitter does censor. Twitter is awful. Their practices are awful. But that's not what Jordan Peterson's commenting on in the bulk of this video. The thing that stands out most in this video is his repeated mocking of the pronouns. Is his disparaging comments towards Elliot Page. They are completely, if Jordan Peterson's most important argument in this video was that he was unjustly censored on Twitter, that argument is being grossly overshadowed by the mocking tones in which he's referring to the pronouns over and over and over and over and over again. It's unnecessary, which makes me believe that the censorship is not the primary point he's making in this video.
How delightfully profitable is that? And misery. And I believe firmly that Ellen/Elliot, or whatever the hell her name or his name is, bears moral culpability for that. And finally, with regard to the final phrase, criminal physician, I must say that I've had some post-coital, so to speak, regrets about that phrase. It is clearly the case that the surgical operation performed by the butchers who butchered Elliot slash
See, here's where he just comes across as completely disingenuous. I'm sorry. Saying, I really regret calling them criminal. I should have called them butchers instead. Jordan, are you calling plastic surgeons butchers? Like, if you're not going to call a plastic surgeon a butcher, then why are you calling this a butcher? It is still an adult that is having an elective procedure that they are paying for, that they have thought about, that is only going to impact their life. It's like, oh, I shouldn't have called them criminals. I should have called them butchers. No, Brian, he is not 100% calling out Twitter. He is not. He is barely talking about Twitter. This is why I don't buy into conservatives are the logical people, not the emotional people. All you people do is make emotional decisions. He is barely even mentioning Twitter in the course of this. Elliot Page is in their 30s. They are in their 30s. They're in their 30s. We're not talking about children. Conservatives are so logical that they can't even focus on the point being made for a 15-minute fucking video. My God. Patty, I don't care. I don't care. He's already lost me at this point. You know, Patty, you know what we're going to see at the end is a promo for the Daily Wire. I know that. What we're going to see at the end is a promo for the Daily Wire. So let's wait to the end and see what this is really a commercial for, because that's all it is a commercial.
Was legal. So, was it criminal or not? Were the operations undertaken by the fascist physicians who carried out the Nazi medical experiments legal? Yes, under the laws of the time. But were they criminal? I'll leave that question up to you to answer.
Again, completely disingenuous. He started this section off saying, you know, I rather regret saying that the doctors were criminal. I should have called them butchers instead. Were they criminal? I'll leave that up to you to decide. No. Either, Jordan, either you regret it or you don't. Either you regret it or you don't. But saying, you know, I merely think they were butchers, I will leave it up to you to decide if they were really criminal. It's completely disingenuous. That was a horribly written script. Whoever approved that script should have been fired. That section was particularly bad. Completely disingenuous. Paul, actually, I started off this video talking about how much I liked and respected Jordan. See, there's another conservative. I always know they're conservative because they're reading without actually listening to what I'm saying. Paul, I started off this whole video with a monologue about how much I liked Jordan Peterson and how in awe of Jordan Peterson I was, and in how much good Jordan Peterson has done in the world. So don't come in here with this bullshit. Stop making shit up, Paul. You have no basis for this at all. But he's a conservative, so he'll make up whatever he wants because that is exactly and precisely what conservatives do.
And further, perhaps it might be objected, what about the damage done by hypothetically leaving those confused about their identity to dwell in their confusion? Aren't we morally obliged to intervene? And I would say, no. Why? Well, first, do no harm, as the Hippocratic Oath, remember?
Yeah, and this is what conservatives are saying now about trans people, is that anyone who performs surgeries on trans people are doing harm. Any trans people. That's not true. That's one of the treatments for gender dysphoria. And if they are adults and they're making that decision without coercion, then there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong. Saying that trans people hurt society is a really, really transphobic thing to say. It's really fucking transphobic. Saying that performing any trans surgeries hurts society because it does harm when it's an adult making that decision, that's really fucking transphobic, dude. And that is exactly what the left wants. Again, Jordan Peterson just handed the left a victory on a silver platter, all so he can make a commercial for the Daily Wire.
For that insists. And second, it has been a matter of historical consensus that sins of omission are less egregious than sins of commission. Thus, leaving someone with gender dysphoria, no matter how warranted, and perhaps it is in a very tiny minority of truly unfortunate cases, to suffer the consequences of the theoretical mismatch between soul and body is less of a risk ethically, personally, socially, and philosophically than the extremely active intervention that constitutes so-called gender confirming, another hated phrase, surgery. I might also point out that the trans surgery enterprise is now a $300 million per annum growth industry, rate of projected expansion 15% per year, projected increase by 2027 to $750 million.
On that, he is making a valid point, and we need to acknowledge that he's making a valid point. There is absolutely no reason that the trans surgery industry should be expanding at that rate. And we all know how they're doing it. They're doing it with kids. And I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with that at all. There is the trans surgery is now a money-making industry, which is why they are selling it to children as early as elementary school. And I think that that's horrible and awful. And guess what? Jordan Peterson can't do anything about that when he is giving up on platforms in which he has millions of followers in the general public to go behind the paywall at the Daily Wire, where no one who disagrees with him will ever be able to see his content. Because if you have to pay money to see his content, if you don't agree with him, you are never going to come across it, and he's going to change exactly 0 minds, which is what the Daily Wire does. It changes no minds. The Daily Wire spouts talking points to a willing and receptive audience who are desperate to hear any media outlet spout their talking points. That's it. But no one's mind is being changed in the course of that transaction. So let's not pretend that they are. We need to stop pretending that the Daily Wire is going to change the world. It is not. It is only going to make conservatives feel better about having someone on their team. That is their sole purpose for existing. That is all they do. And if they really cared about changing minds, if they really cared about changing the world, if they really cared about impacting culture, if they really cared about making things in this country better, they wouldn't do everything behind a paywall. Sam says, given his whole social media life started with a trans cancel mob, it makes 100% sense that he would be upset. I agree with you, Sam. I think there are many reasons for Jordan Peterson to be upset. But this is not a video where Jordan Peterson is behind a webcam. This is a video that has a staff, that has a production value, that has a director, that has an editor, that has a script. Context does matter, Sam. But all the context matters, not just the context that's convenient.
Per year. An expanding enterprise in a time of global uncertainty. Time to invest, both in the requisite surgical skills and perhaps in any industry associated with this vicious and unconscionable fad, primarily entangling, as such things so often do, the youthful and female. Isn't that a concern, intersectionalists? Not when push comes to shove or ideology to scalpel.
Well, it doesn't really seem to be a concern for you either, Jordan, which is really the problem. Of course, that's not going to be a concern for the left. The left wants to destabilize all of society. But where I'm more concerned is, why isn't it a concern for you? Why are you more concerned about making a commercial and a promo for your new show with the Daily Wire than you are with helping the millions of people that you can help in the world by making your message more accessible and publicly available? Why are you making this video that any leftist can use to say, look, we told you Jordan Peterson was a transphobe? Jordan Peterson is going to inhibit his ability to have impact in the world in the path that he's going down now. And that's why I'm saying that I think he sold out to conservatives. And I understand his reasons for doing it, man. Selling out to conservatives is big business. Selling out to conservatives will make you a lot of money. If you just sit on the internet and say everything that conservatives want you to say, you will make a metric fuck ton of money. But you aren't going to help the world. You aren't going to change people's minds. All you're going to do is reach the same conservative audience over and over and over and over and over again. And they'll keep paying you. They'll be like, here's more money. Here's more money if you just say what we want you to say. Here it is right now. You'll get rewarded handsomely, but you won't actually make the world a better place.
Is that not a true moral hazard? And I'm not taking down that tweet or acknowledging that my tweet violated the Twitter rules. Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who. Twitter's a rat.
Well, Jordan, you're not canceling anyone. You're going off to the conservative safe space that is the Daily Wire. You're not canceling anyone, dude. You aren't in a position to cancel anyone. You're going off to your own private safe space. I mean, it was a good run while it lasted. You helped a lot of people, helped change millions of minds. But it seems that run's over. I do need to get some goldbacks on my desk, Sin. You're right about that.
Hole in the final analysis. And I have probably contributed to that while trying to use, understand, and master that horrible, toxic platform. No doubt I owe some apologies for that, and I'm trying to learn. But it's a relief in some real sense to be banned. And I regard it under the present conditions as a badge of honor.
There it is. Daily Wire. Daily Wire. Subscribe to watch. Because that's all that was a commercial. And that makes me really sad. Yeah. He basically just told everyone who is not a conservative that he's not someone that we can listen to anymore. Josephine said, JP has money. I don't think that's what he's after. Oh, he has money. He doesn't have Daily Wire money. He definitely has money, but it's not Daily Wire money. He's going to get a whole lot more money. Ben Shapiro took out his checkbook. Jeremy Boeing took out their checkbook. Like, Jordan, let us entice you into the land where you will always have a major platform and will never be censored again, but you only can speak to our audience. I think it's sad. I really do. Like I said, I am not against Jordan Peterson. I think that Jordan Peterson's work is amazing and has had such an amazing impact. And I am really sad that this is the route that he's going down. And I hope that I'm wrong. I really hope that I'm wrong. But we're going to find out. So that was just the first video we're going to watch. I have 2 more queued up. The next one we're going to watch is a video that I'm hoping will provide a little bit more insight into this situation. I have not watched any of this video. I have no idea what this is. It's called Doctors and Psychotherapists, Butchers and Liars. And the reason I chose this is because I knew that Jordan Peterson said in that Daily Wire promo video that Ellen Page's doctor was a criminal and a butcher. And so I saw this one. I was like, okay, well, my thought process was, My thought process was that, Chaos, have you seen me advertising anything? All I've advertised on this video so far is a free promo code, so I'm not sure how I'm making money off of that, but stop making shit up, will ya? I love it when conservatives come in my chat and just make shit up when it's convenient for them to do so. The reason I chose this video is because have I talked about my book in this video? Have I talked about my book? I'll wait for you to answer. It's a yes or no question. Have I talked about my book in this video? Oh, well, that's actually not a yes or no answer, Chaos Quarter. See, this is why I like call people out in the chat, because they just like they make shit up blatantly. Have I talked about my book in this video? Yes or no? There we go. That only took like three tries to get you to do it. No, I haven't. The reason I selected this video to watch next is that it was filmed a month before the Daily Wire commercial that we just saw. And so I want to see what he's saying in this video. I haven't watched any of it. I don't know if any of you have. But I want to see what was leading up to that Daily Wire commercial. So let's kick it off.
Hello, everyone.
Now,
I'm in Bucharest.
hang on. I want you to notice the difference. In this video, he is on his laptop, probably looking into a webcam without any sort of script. There's no production value. There's no director. There's nothing that we just saw in that Daily Wire commercial. So I'm hoping that this video will get us a little bit closer to what Jordan Peterson thinks. Does he really believe that all doctors who do trans surgeries are butchers? If he does, I think that's a problem. And I don't think it looks very good.
Romania, about 2/3 of the way through the European leg of my Beyond Order tour, which seems to be going very nicely. I've spent some time over the last few weeks. It's June 16th, 2022, by the way.
Josephine, there's nothing wrong with doing videos of varying production values. You're deliberately misunderstanding the point. See, I always have to explain things 4 or 5 times to conservatives because they are willfully ignorant and want to willfully remain ignorant. Josephine, the point I'm making is that the video that we just watched is a commercial. It's a commercial. This is not a commercial. So of course there's going to be varying production values. But let's be realistic about what we're watching and not make shit up just because it's something that our tribe wants to hear. Writing
a couple of articles for the Telegraph, one of which I'm going to read to you today, called Butchers and Liars. We are sacrificing our children on the altar of a malicious far-left ideology. The medical profession is crumbling in response to radical transgender activists. There's good evidence that many ancient societies sacrificed children to their gods. Parents in ancient Phoenician colonies in Carthage, Sicily, Sardinia, and Malta slew their offspring prior to cremating them, hoping that the gods would hear their voices and bless them. We are rightly appalled by this, though sometimes I wonder whether we understand child sacrifice far more than we'd like to admit. I saw a video the other day featuring an American surgeon bragging that he had performed more than 3,000 double mastectomies on young women who had paid for gender reassignment.
Again, I want to say, I think that's gross. I absolutely, if the point of this video is that Jordan Peterson has disdain for doctors who perform those surgeries on children, I am completely on board with him on that. Completely and 100% on board with him on that. We have no difference of opinion. I am fine with him. I am absolutely fine with him calling those people butchers and criminals. Where I start to have a problem is when he takes that and applies it to people who are performing surgeries on adults who are making decisions as adults about what they want to do with their body.
Individuals confused, one might say encouraged, by those who profit from it into believing that their adolescent emotional trials can be cured and happiness reign forever if they subject themselves to this brutal practice. And it is brutal, a process that often includes not only the aforementioned mastectomies, but other appalling surgical processes. Orchiectomy, that's castration in blunter language, the removal of the uterus, the demolition of the musculature of the forearm to make what is not a penis, but must be referred to as such.
All right. And this is the problem right here, conservatives. This is the problem. Trans people are mentally unwell adults who largely regret the mutilation they put themselves through in their quest to change their gender. No, that's not true. That's not true. Most adults who transition, the vast majority do not detransition. That is not true. If you believe that's true, Paul, you have been lied to by your influencers. That is not true. I don't believe. They always say this. They always say, whenever they say really conservative things, they always lie and say, I'm not a conservative. Okay, maybe you're a member of the alt-right. I don't know. But this is provably not true. This surgery is an approved procedure for trans adults. And I don't think it's productive at all. And it quite frankly sounds really hateful to say that all trans people are mentally unwell adults who mutilate themselves, because the vast majority of them do not feel that way. And when you say this, you sound like a deeply hateful and ignorant person. Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Mother effers in the chat getting their info on trans people from Matt Walsh. It's so obvious. We can tell exactly who watches the Daily Wire in my chat right now. It's actually a fascinating exercise.
All of that. For someone purporting to be a physician to perform this on children, to me at least, seems like something worthy.
You want to tell me you've been a Democrat? Bro, you are such a liar. You are such a liar. Not for one red second do I believe someone who's saying that trans people are mentally unwell and they're mutilating themselves. You are an absolute abject fucking liar. And you can complain and read all you want. Listen, guys, you have to be able to learn to recognize who is spewing bullshit and who is not spewing bullshit. People like that guy are absolutely spewing bullshit to make you believe things that are not true. There is not a single lifelong Democrat on this planet that is a real, legitimate, lifelong Democrat who says things like trans people are all mentally unwell and mutilating their bodies. That does not exist. That does not happen. That is not real. Matt Walsh wants to you to think that it's real, but it is not real. It is not. That is gaslighting.
Of a prison sentence. Whatever happened to the doctrine expressed by the ancient language as primum non nocere? First, do no harm. The Hippocratic Oath.
I have been very clear about the type of audience that I want to have and the type of audience I do not want to have. There are many people who disagree with me in the chat. If you want to keep complaining, Chaos Quarter, I am glad to block you and prove you right and never have to deal with you again. If you want to be a little bitch in my chat, you will get treated like a little bitch in my chat. There are rules here.
Has been replaced by a delusion, a belief that can be summarized as, by blocking the puberty of children and then surgically altering them, we are only restoring what is theirs by right. A child's feelings are the final arbiters of their reproductive destiny, and any attempt to contest their gender identity risks increasing their proclivity for
I
suicide.
wonder if conservatives who are behaving like many of the conservatives are in my chat right now, I'm not commenting on the video, I'm commenting on the chat for people who might be watching the video later. I wonder if conservatives who are behaving like this really, or alt-right people or whoever, do they really understand how they're painting their side to everyone who disagrees with them? Do you guys have any idea how hateful you look? Self-mutilation is major unhealthy behavior. It's their body. They're allowed to do with it what they want, just like you're allowed to do whatever you want with your body. It's none of your fucking business. It's none of your business. But I don't know why people think this is a good look. I don't know why people think, and I'm not talking about Jordan Peterson. He's fine so far in this video. I have nothing wrong. I have no problem with what he said so far. I'm talking about people in the chat. I don't know why people think it's a good look to say publicly on the internet. Anyone who doesn't live the way we want them to live is mentally ill, and they're just engaging in self-mutilation and blah 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 blah. It's not a good look. You're creating more Democrats when you do this. You are reinforcing every negative idea they have about your side when you do this. You are making things worse when you do this. You are helping the other side to win when you do this. If you can't have a basic amount of discipline, a basic level of discipline to say, I'm not going to say shit in mass, which happens when you're in online chats. I'm not going to say shit that the woke left can paint as overtly hateful to paint everyone on my side as bigots. There are ways to express these ideas and to fight these problems that have nothing to do with saying everyone who is trans is mentally ill. Everyone who is trans is mutilating themselves. It makes you look like exactly the monsters that they think you are. And you can whine and cry about it all you want, but you are only creating more Democrats when you do this. That is all you are doing. You are changing no one's mind.
Side. Lies. 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 Then butchery. Changing standards. Psychologists, those in my own personal field of medicine, have also surrendered to this groupthink. The American Psychological Association's Task Force on Guidelines for Psychological Practice with Transgender and Gender Nonconforming People, TGNC, insist that psychologists and other professional counselors offer trans affirmative care, starting with such niceties as displaying TGNC affirmative resources in waiting areas. Practitioners are also asked to examine how their language, e.g., use of incorrect pronouns and names, may reinforce the gender binary in overt or subtle and unintentional ways. These guidelines first read like a manual of indoctrination written by Marxist ideologues, and second, like a document designed to undermine and destroy.
Listen, I do angry on the internet all the time, so I completely understand. I completely understand and sympathize with the fact that the stuff that he's reading might make Jordan Peterson angry. I think it would make a lot of people angry. I think it should make a lot of people angry. And so I'm not commenting. I want to be very clear. I'm not commenting as much on his anger in this video because I understand having an angry reaction to articles that you're reading on the internet. I think he's coming across as more natural this way. I agree with you, Jennifer. I think he's coming across as more natural. I think he's coming across as more authentic. I think it would be more effective if he was using a little less anger, and maybe that's a lesson to me because, again, I know that I use anger and mockery when I'm reading a lot of these articles. I know that. My God. My God. Every time I read a comment in the chat where someone is overtly just aggressively not getting the point that I'm making, I'm like, why do I even bother? But I don't know. Maybe a little less anger though, because it is coming across as more heated than I think is merited at this point, but I understand why.
Destroy the practice of therapy itself. But at an alarming rate, these guidelines have transformed themselves into punitive laws governing what a psychologist
But
or
again, I
counselor.
have to question if this was realizing the irony that I'm getting angry with what I just said, realizing that irony. But if this issue is so fucking important to him, then why is he digging his heels in over a tweet when he has millions of people on that platform that he can communicate with and help and serve, and he's giving it all up over a fucking tweet?
May say and think in relation to their clients. Let me make myself perfectly clear.
Let me get this super chat. Nathaniel says, do you think they're trying to help the left win? Yes. As they could make more money, nobody watches the Daily Wire when Trump was in. Yeah, I think that yes, I do. I think that, well, maybe they're not trying to help the left win, but I do think that they don't care if the left wins. I think that Republicans and conservatives are significantly more comfortable being controlled opposition than they are actually leading. So do I think the Daily Wire is going to make significantly more money with Joe Biden in office than they would with Donald Trump every day of the week? How do you think they're affording Jordan Peterson? How do you think they're affording him? How do you think they're affording any of the stuff that they're doing? It's because they're rolling in cash because they make more money as controlled opposition than they do in actually being the people who are leading the country. And that's why they will always and forever be nothing more than controlled opposition. They will never solve any problems. They will never even try to solve problems. In fact, they will actively inhibit problems from being fucking solved in order to make money.
Speaking as a professional, whether in America, Britain, or anywhere, it is not the place of a therapist to affirm or conversely to deny the identity of anyone whom they admit into their care.
True.
People come to see a therapist often after long and painful deliberation because they are suffering, confused, or both. The job of that therapist is to listen, to question, and to proceed with due caution, neither providing cheap advice and thereby stealing their clients' successes.
You claimed to be a libertarian earlier. You said, Carlin, I've been a libertarian longer than you have. You claimed to be a libertarian earlier. You answer this question. If a disabled man wanted legs and a surgeon sewed 2 sausages to his hips, what should we think about that? You answer this question. You claim to be a libertarian. Do you not believe in property rights? Do you not believe that someone's body is their property? Now, I don't think it's a good idea to have 2 sausages sewn to my hips. I don't think that sounds like a good idea at all. But if it's my body, which is my private property, libertarian, and I find a surgeon that would do it, adults are allowed to make stupid decisions. Now, he's talking about kids in this video. That is a whole other thing. And as I have already said, but will obviously need to state 10 or 12 times because people don't listen the first time you say something, I am not in favor of medical transition for children. I think social transition is fine. I am not in favor of medical transition. Exactly. Exactly. It is his body. It is his property. Do what you want. Who the fuck cares?
Or heaping failure upon them nor assuming special knowledge of the proper outcome for a given individual. There is simply no way I would ever tell a 15-year-old adolescent that she is absolutely correct if sometimes she feels more masculine than feminine, however that feeling might emerge, and that if she feels that surgery is the answer, then recommend hormones that day. I would instead spend many weeks, even perhaps many months or years, listening to her unwrap her story, using caution as my watchword, and help her to come to some thorough and well-developed understanding of both her autobiographical history and her destiny. That is not affirmation, and neither is it denial. How could I possibly dare to do either when someone has come to me because they are mixed up and desperate, a state of twinned experience indicating a profound confusion about identity itself? Radical new guidelines. I am focusing on the American Psychological Association, APA, because it is the body charged with establishing the norms and ideals for clinical practice in the most populous democracy on earth. Principles that will and are spread around the West more broadly, including in Britain.
Does Jordan Peterson usually give his opinion in videos, or does he just usually read articles? I'm asking. I don't know. I don't watch Jordan Peterson's videos. I have no idea. I've read his first book. I have not, or not the first book, the 12 Rules book, because I think he wrote one before that. I haven't read his new one. I don't watch his videos on YouTube. Every once in a while, I'll watch an interview with him. So it seems like he's just reading an article, which is a little bit disappointing to me because I actually wanted to hear Jordan Peterson's position. Well, no, Nat D, he's not presenting his position in this, though. This is the problem. I actually want to hear what Jordan Peterson's position is. But he's reading an article. He's not presenting his own position. So maybe he gets to his position. We'll watch a couple more minutes and see.
Some of their guidelines are appalling enough to deserve dissection. Guideline 1. Psychologists understand that gender is a non-binary construct that allows for a range of gender identities, and that a person's gender identity may not align with sex assigned at birth. I don't understand this radical postmodern definition of gender, one that rests on a person's deeply felt or inherent sense of being one sex over another, regardless of biology. Psychologically, it is indisputably the case that a non-trivial proportion of males have a feminine temperament, which essentially means that they experience higher levels of negative emotion, such as anxiety and the analogs of pain, grief, frustration, disappointment, depression, and are more agreeable, compassionate, polite than typical males. And equally true that a non-trivial proportion of females have a masculine temperament. But this does not change how objectively professionals should measure a person's gender. Psychologists once cared if measurement followed standard practices of validity and reliability. Try reading, for example, a document published by the APA itself in 2014, where you will learn that a psychologist worthy of his salt is obliged to utilize constructs, i.e. terms such as gender, in a technically appropriate manner. This means at the very least that fundamental attributes must be measurable and measured properly. But all that goes out the window when we're discussing the magic of gender now, which is entirely subjectively defined, even though that insistence indubitably contravenes the earlier standards. But feelings uber alles, folks, and it's no joke, particularly if you're 15 and have undergone surgery that makes you incapable of reproducing, often to foster someone else's sense of moral superiority or sense of self-attributed compassion, a word that increasingly makes me shudder when I encounter it. New doctrines. Psychologists are also now adopting the simple-minded and anything but revolutionary doctrine of intersectionality without question. And what is that doctrine? Nothing more than the claim that human beings are characterized by identities that span multiple dimensions. Any given person has a race, ethnicity, sex, temperament, 5 dimensions there alone, intelligence level, etc. We've known that forever. It's only became a hot cultural item since fools noted the obvious fact that minority status might be additive or multiplicative. I hate to even point out, given that anyone with any sense whatsoever also knew, without any statistical training, that it was possible to be of Latino extraction, say, or even Latin X, to use that absurd, demeaning, and patronizing term, and female simultaneously. One cannot question this, however, without fear of being ostracized by one's colleagues. Note the chilling wording of Guideline 7. Psychologists understand the need to promote social change that reduces the negative effects of stigma on the health and well-being of TGNC people. In summary, if you're not an activist and one of our activists, then you better be watching over your shoulder. So what should govern my behavior as a therapist and your expectations as a client? The answer to that is whatever the activists deem a priority at their whim. And remember that in court, folks. Active malevolence. I'm increasingly ashamed to be a clinical psychologist, given the utter cowardice, spinelessness, and apathy that characterizes many colleagues, and even more so my profession.
I mean, maybe that's, and I understand he's still reading the article here, but like, maybe that's actually like why Jordan Peterson is doing this. Maybe he feels like his whole profession has gone cowardly, and he is now the defender of his profession. I could see that, man. I still think how he's doing it is misguided. I don't think how he's doing it is actually going to help the profession improve at all, but I guess I could understand that a little bit more anyway.
Professional associations, at least in 20 years, when we all come to regret this terrible social experiment, I may be able to say, I said no when they all came to insist that we participate in the sacrifice of our children. Other countries, and Britain in particular, must not make the same mistakes as in the US and elsewhere. I cannot consent to what we are doing. I cannot abide by what have become the doctrines of my discipline. I believe that the acts of the medical professional rushing to disfigure, sterilize, and harm young people with what are clearly ill-advised, dangerous, and experimental procedures cross the line from do no harm to outright harm. Only if we bury our heads in the sand will sterility, impaired or absent sexual function, complex reactions to poorly understood hormones, expense, and intermingled with all of that, misery and confusion continue for countless young people. We must address the threat posed to the integrity of the entire education system, as well as indoctrination into the same philosophy that spawned this surgical enterprise and the APA guidelines grows. It threatens general public trust that our peace and prosperity depends upon. And, by the way, it will most definitely be the case that a disproportionate number of children freed from their hypothetical gender confusion would have grown up to be physically intact and fully functional gay adults. Need I point out that this unpalatable fact makes a mockery of any claim that the extended alphabet world of the LGBTQ plus coterie in any sense constitutes a homogeneous and unified community. We have crossed the line from ideological possession to active malevolence, and we are multiplying our sin. There's an intersection for you, by attributing our appalling actions to compassion. Heaven help us. Truly.
Is that it? I wanted an opinion, Jordan. Well, no, you weren't agreeing with him,
If you're the
actually.
Prime Minister of Canada,
You weren't agreeing with him at all, because literally all he did there was read an article. I don't want anyone complaining anymore ever again about if I just do a stream where I read articles, because at least when I read articles, I give opinions about those articles. I don't just read articles and then call it a day. All right. Was it his article? Because he didn't say it was his article at the beginning, Mark. He did not give his opinion. So no, you are incorrect. I don't think that was his own article. Maybe it was. I don't know. It used a lot of the same language, but I don't know. I'm not terribly impressed with it. All right, let's move on to our last video. That video was not insightful at all. That video wasn't insightful at all because, like, again, what I'm looking for in this is any reason at all to believe that Jordan Peterson is not a conservative shill sellout. And as of right now, that video gave me no reason to believe that Jordan Peterson is not a conservative shill sellout. That Daily Wire commercial that was a video of him talking about his Twitter ban absolutely makes me believe that he's a conservative shill sellout. So the last thing I want to watch, and if you guys have other suggestions for things you would like me to watch, I am more than happy to take them. Let's see what the description of the video says. Hang on. Let's see. Oh, you know what? You guys are right. You are correct. I'm wrong. I'll say when I'm wrong. Okay, he was reading his own article. You are correct. I was wrong. You guys are right. Contrary to popular belief, I will actually admit when I am wrong. It doesn't happen often, but in this case, I was actually wrong. Well, it still doesn't really give me a whole lot of insight. I mean, it gives me insight into the language. But actually, you know what? I retract. It is more damning to me that that's Jordan Peterson's article. That's more damning to me. You want to know why? Because to me, that says that Jordan Peterson once took this position with regards to children, but now he's extrapolating a position in regards to trans surgery on children, and he is applying it to all trans people. So that isn't a point in his favor, because I don't think it is the same thing. I don't think it is the same thing when we're talking about trans surgeries for children who are under the age of 18, whose brains are not fully developed, who have not usually gone through years and years of therapy. It is not the same thing to apply the same principles to trans children as it is to adults who are making adult decisions. So what it seems like to me is that Jordan has now taken his position in regards to children and said, fuck it. I'm going to apply it to all trans people because that's what the audience of the Daily Wire wants me to do. Maybe I'm wrong, but that seems to be what he's saying to me. But this is the last video we're going to watch unless you guys have other videos you would like me to check out, maybe that either support or disprove the theory that I am beginning to develop, which is sadly that Jordan Peterson has sold out. Again, I don't like that conclusion. I really don't. I really want to be wrong. But this is a video with Kyle Kalinske, Secular Talk, that was just published yesterday. Jordan Peterson on trans rights, Elliot Page controversy, Crystal, Kyle, and friends teaser. So it's a teaser video, 12 minutes long. Let's see.
So I noticed just the other day you were banned from Twitter. Now, you know, I'm somebody, nobody can...
He did literally say all trans people in the last video we watched, Brian, which you were here for, but keep making shit up. You can always tell who the fanboys are. They're the ones that make shit up when they have evidence presented right in front of their eyes that contradicts what they think, and they ignore it and they continue to make shit up.
Argue against my lefty credentials. Everybody knows I'm a man of the left. Having said that, my solution on this issue of social media censorship has always been, look, we need to expand First Amendment protections. And the way you do that
Brian.
is to regulate
I
these big
apologize.
social media companies like their public utilities. So if you do that, then basically you're saying this is the new public square and people can speak their mind here. Now that doesn't mean, of course, you can't, dox people or do direct threats of violence or anything that's actually illegal will remain illegal. But outside of that, you can't censor people just based on political opinion. So, I definitely wouldn't have banned you, suspended you, etc. But I do have a question about that specific tweet that did get you in trouble because, you said something to the effect of,
well, I don't know if it got me in trouble. I don't
It
think
did,
I'm in
Jordan,
trouble. Twitter
provably.
banned me, but I don't consider
Well,
that trouble.
They didn't ban you. They locked your account. Those are two
point.
different things.
But you said something to the effect of, remember when pride was a sin and the criminal physician.
And Ellen Page just had her breasts cut off by a criminal physician.
Exactly. So my question is the physician really criminal? If you agree that adults can decide to transition, then why would the physician be criminal? Don't adults have that right if they want to transition?
Well, okay. Hang on, let's talk about this, because Tristan says, JP made me thinking that trans adults provide a bad example for children, but that line of thinking leads to crushing constraints on all adult behavior. That's exactly the point, Tristan. I mean, I agree with you. I'm sure there is absolutely an element of Jordan Peterson, particularly in regards to Elliot Page, who is a world-known person, to say that you're providing a bad example to kids. But adults still have to be allowed to live their lives. And adults are allowed to make adult decisions. And guess what? Like, I am not responsible for how any of your children turn out. Elliot Page is not responsible for how any of your children turn out. Jordan Peterson is also not responsible for how any of your children turn out. Children have always had negative influences, right? And I'm not disagreeing with anything you say, Tristan. You said something that I was thinking, and so I'm using your chat as like an example to bounce off of. But like, children have always had negative influences, or things that people would consider to be, quote unquote, a negative influence, before like the trans thing really became as ubiquitous as it is now. It's like there have always been people who you could make arguments that they were negative. Guess what? In the 50s, people would have made the argument that Elvis was providing a negative influence to children because he played that weird, wacky rock and roll music. It's just a matter of degrees. It's a matter of time. So I don't think it's really a coherent argument, and I'm not saying that you're making it, but it's not a coherent argument to say adults shouldn't be able to do something because they could negatively influence children, because you can literally apply that to anything that you don't like.
Not everything legal isn't criminal.
Oh my God, Jordan.
And do they have that right? See, I would have left Ellen Page alone if she hadn't been parading her new abs in a fashion magazine.
Really? 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 That is the most dickish thing that I've ever heard Jordan Peterson say. All right, Jordan Peterson is a conservative sellout. I'm sorry. I'm putting my stake in the ground now. That is the most dickish thing that I have ever heard Jordan Peterson say. Ellen Page took a picture in a fashion magazine in which she was parading her abs around, and so I had to attack her. I had a moral obligation to tweet at her. What the fuck? What the... No, he was not reading a comment. Let's go back and watch that again.
If they want to transition?
Hang on. I'll go back a little farther so we can get the full context here.
Question is the physician really criminal? If you agree that adults can decide to transition, then why would the physician be criminal? Don't adults have that right if they want to transition?
Not everything legal isn't criminal. And do they have that right? See, I would have left Ellen Page alone if she hadn't been parading her new abs in a fashion magazine.
What a dick. I'm sorry. I know that Jordan Peterson has positively impacted a lot of lives. I don't want to take any of that away from him. But that was not a good look, Jordan. That is not a good look. And again, it shows you that everything we saw in that Daily Wire commercial is exactly how Jordan Peterson feels. And that to me is really, really, really upsetting.
How many kids do you think she can convince to convert?
So what? She is allowed to live her life. She is Elliot Page. I almost dead named. I was like this close. Elliot Page is allowed to do whatever the ever-loving fuck Elliot Page wants to do. She is not responsible for parenting the world. Fucking misgendered. God damn it. They are not See, I screw up with these fucking pronouns sometimes too. She is not responsible for parenting the world's children, Jordan. And neither are you. Deborah says, as a therapist, Jordan Peterson is being unethical by making such a judgmental statement in public from my perspective. I agree. But Jordan Peterson no longer needs to worry about losing his license to practice psychology, which he very may well do, because now he's got this sweet deal with the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
1,000? No, not, yeah.
No,
really?
I want to respond to that. I
Yeah.
think that with the trans community, it's very similar to the gay community, where back when that first became a big issue, people thought, oh, if we talk about it, if it's in magazines or whatever, we're promoting kids to go down that path. But really what happened is people are who they are. And if
that
they're
is what
gay, they just
happened.
decided to be
No.
like, yeah, I'm gay. And they were just more open and honest with themselves. So I don't think
Wait,
you're promoting
wait,
people
wait,
to do
wait.
that.
No,
You're
that's
just
not
saying,
what happened.
if you
You're
are that, it's
completely
okay.
wrong.
Okay. Well,
You're utterly
I'm
wrong.
listening.
There's
I'm
nothing
listening.
about that that's right.
So
Well,
explain. I'm
there's been
listening.
an absolute look. One of the reasons that I opposed Bill C-16 in Canada to begin with, this pronoun compelled speech bill, was because I knew perfectly well what was going to happen when we introduced confusion about gender identity into the public sphere. Now, the argument was that if we left,
Am I being detained? See, I learn new things with the libertarians. They've taught me all the rules of what to do when you're pulled over, and that's you don't answer any questions and you say, am I being detained? And if they say no, you leave. Never answer any questions when the cops pull you over. Just give them your license. Let them do their fucking thing. Don't answer any questions. Do not get out of the fucking car and say, am I being detained? Do not talk to them about your day. Do not let them in that car. If they ask to search the car, you say no. Am I being detained?
people with gender dysphoria alone to make their own way and stop torturing them, that we would decrease the mental health load on those individuals. And my analysis as a clinician was that for every one person of that sort that we hypothetically save, we doom 1,000 more as a consequence of confusion and social contagion. I knew the literature on psychogenic.
So now Jordan Peterson is saying that people shouldn't be able to live their lives exactly the way they want to because they're going to influence other people. Do you guys see that the slippery slope that this is going to go down right quick? Because I feel like I see the slippery slope coming like a mile and a half away. It's like, okay, should we be able to listen to that newfangled rock and roll music, Jordan, because it's going to influence children into a life of hooliganism and reefer madness and debauchery? Because that's exactly the argument they would have made in the 50s. Oh, wait, they did make that. They made that argument in the 20s when they literally made the movie Reefer fucking Madness. Has anyone seen the movie Reefer Madness lately? Where they were literally saying that like all these things were a gateway to debauchery and like sex and death and all things that are going to make your life go horribly wrong. If you haven't watched the movie Reefer Madness lately, go. It's like a throwback. It's a throwback. Aaron says, I hate to be this person, but you can see in his facial expressions, these seem to be very constructed opinions. I don't believe he believes this. I don't know. Alexander, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you. I don't know. I think he does believe this. I think that Jordan Peterson has gotten angry. I think he's gotten very, very angry. And I think he's making maybe he's come to the conclusion that we've just irrevocably lost. I don't know. Alexandra, we should have a Reefer Madness party. We should. We absolutely should. We should have a Reefer Madness watch party. Join my locals. Use the promo code July for a free month, and we will have a Reefer Madness watch party.
Epidemics. They used to call that mass hysteria, and it's a literature that goes back about 300 years. And whenever you introduce, often when you introduce social confusion, you can produce a psychogenic epidemic, especially among, generally it's adolescent females.
Poll in the chat. Let me know what you think.
So I thought, oh, well, what's going to happen is we'll produce a psychogenic epidemic of gender dysphoria among adolescent females. And that is exactly what's happened. And it isn't the fact that we've freed up people who are in doubt about their identity to be who they are. That may have happened in a tiny minority of cases. It's absolutely and definitely the case that we've doomed thousands of kids to brutal, mutilating surgery and premature sterility. And we've done that on the altar of our hypothetical moral virtue and compassion.
Yes, I agree with that. That's why I don't believe that children should be having this type of surgery. However, just because we shouldn't be doing it for children does not mean it shouldn't be allowed for adults. And these are two different questions. Jordan, again, if Jordan Peterson really cared about addressing this issue with children, he wouldn't have gone after Elliot Page. Elliot Page is, why didn't he go after Jazz Jennings? Why didn't he go after Jazz Jennings? Jazz Jennings is now an adult. Jazz Jennings wasn't always an adult. Jazz Jennings had bottom surgery before she was 18. If Jordan Peterson really wanted to make this point that we are ruining the lives of children, then why wouldn't he go after someone who actually transitioned as a child? Why would he go after someone who transitioned in her 30s? And make that's the hill that he dies on. It just makes no sense.
Look, I read a corporate analysis of the trans surgery industry last week. Growth rate projection for you lefty types and your anti-corporatism.
Oh, for fuck's sake,
Growth rate
Jordan.
projection,
50% that's totally
per year.
unnecessary.
Invest now at 350 million.
He is convincing exactly 0 people with this argumentative style. We're going to go back and watch it again in a sec, but like, he is convincing with you lefties. Now, listen, I call out conservative bullshit all the time in my chat. I know that every single time I do that, I am not convincing a single conservative of anything. And I don't care. I don't care. But I'm not the one going on conservative media or conservative talk shows to try to convince conservatives of something. Jordan Peterson right now is going on a lefty talk show and yelling at them and talking down to them. He's not trying to convince them of everything. If I actually wanted to convince conservatives of something, you know what I would do? I would go on a conservative talk show and I would be very nice and I would be very conciliatory and I would provide data and I wouldn't yell at all. And I wouldn't swear at all, and I wouldn't insult anyone, because that's not, like, I'm on my channel right now expressing my opinions. That is a very different context than going on an opposing forces show and trying to convince them of something, right? Right now, Jordan Peterson is on a lefty show trying to convince lefties that they should worry about transitioning kids, and he's yelling at them and insulting them. That makes absolutely no sense. I want to watch that again just so we can see how bad this actually is.
Moral virtue and compassion. Look, I read a corporate analysis of the trans surgery industry last week. Growth rate projection for you lefty types and your anti-corporatism. Growth rate projection, 15% per year. Invest now. A $350 million business as of 2022, projected to expand to $750 million by 2027. No moral hazard there? There's plenty of moral hazard there. And that surgery is absolutely brutal.
So what percentage of the population do you think, in your conception of how this is unfolding, what percentage of the population do you think?
I mean, people in the chat are saying he's not a conservative. He's not acting like that anymore. Metastep, did you see that Daily Wire commercial? Because Jordan Peterson flat out insulted liberals and libertarians in that commercial. He flat out insulted them. He's like, you people believe that that adults can do whatever they want with their bodies, but you are wrong. I mean, he didn't say it exactly like that, but that was the basic gist. So I wouldn't say that Jordan Peterson is acting like a moderate anymore. Maybe he was at one time. He was at one time. He's not anymore. Ty says, next time you should check out his most recent interview with Dave Rubin on LGBT parenting. They get into some spicy topics like conversion therapy. He definitely moved further right on social stuff. Maybe we'll watch it. Maybe we'll watch it. I don't know. Maybe I'll pull it up right now. Maybe we'll watch it next. I thought about it. I thought about watching that interview. That was like this week, right? I thought about watching it, and I was like, I want to watch this other stuff instead. I don't really want to watch Rubin, but maybe we will.
Think is going to end up being trans at the end of this? Do you think like one day it's
going
to be like 70% of the country is trans?
Well, we know already that about 1 in 5 adolescents now identifies, to use that hated word, identifies as part of the hypothetical LGBTQ plus community. So it's 1 in 5. I don't know what the upper limit is. There's a consulting group in the UK now that's claiming there's 150 different genders. There's actually, I suppose, 7 billion different genders. If you
it's an hour long. We're not watching all that.
Everybody's temperament differs.
Never mind.
But I don't know what the upper limit is, and I have no idea what the upper limit is for this surgical intervention. We'll see. But I don't find it. I don't find it the least bit acceptable. And if you think that your compassion is demanding that you extend your pity to the LGBTQ plus community at the cost of sterilizing children, you should think again. You're on the wrong side of this, and not in a trivial way.
Again, Jordan, you weren't talking about children when you were talking about Elliot Page. Elliot Page is not a child. And this is why I say he's conflating the two. This is completely backing up what I said. After him reading his own article in that last video, which was a month ago, and now watching the evolution, I said he was saying this about kids, and now he's saying this about all trans people. He's proving that to be correct when he's conflating Elliot Page and transitioning children. Those are not the same thing. They are completely different issues.
I would appreciate if you don't ascribe beliefs to me that I don't have. Remember, my original question was
well,
about...
you said earlier in this question that,
I said
that
Elliot Page is an adult, and so do you think
exactly
that
I agree
he has
with
the
Kyle.
right to
yeah,
transition?
but
that was the original
made
question.
some comments after that. Yeah, but as a star
Mm-hmm.
and a public figure and a model for emulation,
Mm-hmm.
she also has the responsibility not to entice confused adolescents into a catastrophic decision.
No, she doesn't, Jordan. God damn it. Fucking hell. Jordan Peterson made me misgender her. God damn it, I did it again. No, Elliot Page has no responsibility to anyone except for Elliot Page. I'm sorry. Elliot Page has no responsibility to be the world's parent. The only person that Elliot Page has responsibility for is Elliot Page. That's it. Saying Elliot Page can't live their life any way they want to as an adult because a child might see a photo in a magazine that their parent has probably bought them, that is not correct. If the parents don't want their kids, their precious darlings, to see pictures of Elliot Page's abs in a magazine, don't buy them the effing magazine.
Before they have the maturity to make that decision.
I just have to say, Jordan, I think it's a little bit of a moral panic. I just don't see some sort of, frenzy of
what would you consider
to become trans.
First of all, that's a hell of a way to put it.
Why
don't you take a look at the increases in surgical interventions and see what you think? I mean, how many do you think is too many?
Again,
if we're talking about
I'll
suffering,
answer your question. The argument is it used to be very repressed because that's very outside of the tradition and the norm and the standard. And that now when you sort of let the boot off the neck a little bit.
What used to be suppressed?
The entire LGBTQ community. I mean, it was very recently we even got gay marriage in the United States.
First of all, they're not a community.
Well, you understand the point I'm making.
No, actually, neither
I understand.
If Jordan Peterson has a salient point here, it's being completely lost because he is angry. And listen, again, I understand when I am on my channel, I do angry content all the time. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing angry content on your own channel. But if I'm going on someone else's show, unless they're starting shit, I'm not going to be angry on someone else's show because it prevents me from articulating any salient point. Jordan Peterson is winning no friends here. No friends at all.
Nor you, and that's why we're delving into it. First of all, they're not a community.
That's true.
That's just a catchphrase. It's a buzzword. And I'll tell you something else, that almost all the kids who are undergoing surgical intervention, the clinical literature is absolutely clear on this. 80% of kids with gender dysphoria identify as homosexual when they mature. 80%. And that means the vast majority of people who are being converted surgically are gay. Now, how is that an advantage to the gay community precisely?
No, see, I'm not taking a position in any way, shape, or form on the kids because I don't know the first thing about this to comment on the kids. Well, but see, that's why we're having this conversation, though, is because my original question was about the adults and what your take is on the adults. And it sounds to me like, let me ask you a question. Would you ban transition surgery?
I agree with Jordan on that one, too. I agree with him. This is why I am not in favor of medically transitioning children. Socially transition them, fine. If they want to cut their hair, if they want to wear baggy clothes and dress like a boy, fine. They want to go by a different name, fine. But I'm not in favor of medical transition for exactly that reason, because I think that most of them will grow out of it. I think most of them will try on a new identity, see if it fits, see if it works out, but eventually many of them will go back. And there's nothing wrong with that. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that if they try on that new identity and decide, yeah, I really am trans and I do want to have this surgery when I'm an adult. Nothing wrong with that either. My point in this, though, is not about whether or not that's a good idea. I've been extremely clear on my channel that I don't think that's a good idea. My point is that Jordan Peterson is not convincing anyone because he is angry and he is not trying to convince anyone. And because of how he is presenting, the entire point is getting lost. Jordan Peterson could actually be creating more. If you want to talk about, Jordan, if you want to talk about the fact that you are an influence on other people, the way you're behaving with this Daily Wire commercial and now this interview, you are serving up to the left on a silver platter more reasons to hate you and more reasons to discount every single thing that you're saying. And that's a shame because the point he just made is really, 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 really good. And there are so many people on the left who need to hear that exact point. But when you're coming in and you're insulting them and you're yelling at them and you're complaining about Elliot Page and then talking about transitioning kids and saying Elliot Page is responsible for being the world's mommy, that's not going to convince anyone, and it's so far beneath who Jordan Peterson is.
Surgery for adults.
I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, really.
I need to listen to that again. Sorry, I need to listen to that question again.
Transition surgery for adults.
Hang on. Going to go back a little farther.
I don't know the first thing about this to comment on the kids. Well, but see, that's why we're having this conversation, though, is because my original question was about the adults and what your take is on the adults. And it sounds to me like, let me ask you a question. Would you ban transition surgery for adults?
I don't know.
Oh my God. Jordan Peterson now wants to be the dictator of what people can do with their own bodies when they're adults. Don't tell me Jordan Peterson is a centrist. If he's talking about banning transition surgery for adults, not for kids, for adults, he is a conservative. And that's a deeply authoritarian thing, Jordan. For someone so committed to I would rather die than delete a tweet. You're telling me you think it's acceptable to dictate through legislation what adults can and cannot do with their own bodies? The Daily Wire. That sweet Daily Wire money will get people to say almost anything. Did Carlin just take I don't know as a yes? Dude, if you can't say, Mark, let me clue you in on something. If you can't say, no, I am not in favor of legislating what adults can do with their own bodies. If you can't say that as the easiest answer you've ever given in your life, then you are a conservative authoritarian. That is the easiest question you... Are you saying that you don't believe that adults should be able to do whatever they want to do with their own bodies? I don't know. That's an authoritarian answer. That is the easiest question to say no to in the world.
Yeah, really. We're paying a big price for it. And I think that it was...
We're paying a big societal price for those adults having the freedom to do whatever they want to do with their own bodies. We better start legislating that. But we shouldn't legislate speech. But we should definitely be legislating what adults can do with their own bodies. Jordan, are you fucking serious?
It was
you think that we should not at all be legislating what people can say, but you think we should be legislating what people can do with their own bodies? That is such a contradiction. That is a raging contradiction. Jamie, yes, he is. Yes, he is. And all the conservatives that are defending him in the chat, you're authoritarians too. I am sorry. I am sorry. It is not any of your business what an adult does with their own bodies. It is not any of your fucking business. I don't know why this is so hard for people to understand. Conservatives are like, we believe in live and let live, and we just want to be left alone. But don't you dare do something with your bodies that we wouldn't do with ours. Don't tell me you're live and let live when you are very literally talking about legislating what I can do with my body and what I can't do with my body. You are nothing more than authoritarian. You are no better than the left. No better than the left wanting to regulate my fucking speech.
An act of stunning hubris to conduct the first trans surgery procedure. And it's not obvious to me at all that it's been a net social good. And
but aren't there some people that are obviously trans?
So what?
Who are born in one body, they feel like they're in the other body, and when...
So what? Jordan, whether you believe it's been a net social good or not, does not mean we should be legislating what people can and cannot do with their own bodies. Whether or not it's a social good is a purely subjective perspective. It is purely subjective, based on your moral compass. See, Rick, people say that I'm grifting on the libertarians. No, absolutely not. I just thought the libertarians were woke in 2020. That's why I didn't join them in 2020, because I thought they were woke. And they were woke in 2020, but they're not anymore.
When they're an adult, they can make the decision. And then even from just a freedom and liberty perspective, shouldn't they have that right? Even if they do it and then they regret it, shouldn't they have the right to try it?
It's a good question. I mean, it's a tricky one, right? Because
Will
there's
he
all
say
sorts
yes?
of surgical enhancement procedures that are it's not obviously appropriate to make them illegal. And I don't know exactly where the cutoff line is, so to speak. And that's partly why we're having a public discussion about it.
He didn't say yes. I want to watch that again. I want to watch that again because I want you guys to notice how he was very clearly asked by Kyle Kalinske, well, they're adults. Shouldn't adults be able to do what they want to do with their own bodies? And Jordan Peterson was like, well, that's a really good question. And now here's all this stuff where I'm not actually going to answer your question.
It was an act of stunning hubris to conduct the first trans surgery procedure. And it's not obvious to me at all that it's been a net social good.
Yes, he is.
But
So
aren't there
deny it
some
all you
people that
want.
are
Yes, he
obviously
is.
trans who were born in one body, they feel like they're in the other body, and when they're an adult, they can make the decision. And then even from just a freedom and liberty perspective, shouldn't they have that right? Even if they do it and then they regret it, shouldn't they have the right to try it?
It's a good question. I mean, it's a tricky one, right? Because there's all sorts of surgical enhancement.
Even if they do it and they regret it, shouldn't they have a right to try it? That's a good question. And here are some considerations in answering that question. No, 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 no. It is their body. It is not your body, Jordan. It is their body. If they want to do something stupid, then they should be able to do something stupid. Adults do things they regret all the time. I have tattoos on my body that I would not get today. I don't regret any of them, thank God. But adults do stupid things with their bodies all the time. It is their body. Dude, he is literally advocating for the state to legislate. That is the point he's saying. This is what you guys don't seem to be understanding. Some of you, many of you are understanding it. Some of you are being willfully ignorant. He is literally saying that the state should be able to legislate what adults do with their bodies. You don't see the problem with this? Ty says, quick question. Did Elliot do something to Jordan Peterson to make him put out that tweet? Why is he so hard and angry on this? Well, Ty, it's funny because Jordan actually addressed that earlier in this video. And he said, oh, I never would have attacked Elliot Page had they not put their abs on display in a magazine. So apparently Elliot Page taking a photo and having that photo published in a magazine, doing something that Jordan Peterson didn't approve of, was enough to make him put out that tweet and then dig in his heels like a child because he's going to get his payday at the Daily Wire.
Procedures that are it's not obviously appropriate to make them illegal. And I don't know exactly where the cutoff line is, so to speak, and that's partly why we're having a public discussion about it. But this entire argument, in many ways, is stated so idiotically that it almost defies description. I mean, what do you mean, feel like you're in the wrong body? What kind of measurement is that? Now, hang on a second.
I was going to
There
answer.
are rules for these sorts of diagnostic decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The rule is that you have to make a valid and reliable diagnosis. That's if you're diagnosing depression or anxiety or obsessive compulsive disorder or cancer or anything like that. There are standards that you have to abide by in order to make a diagnosis, in order to fulfill the obligations of your professional college. If someone comes to you and says, I feel like I have lung cancer, that is not sufficient grounds upon which to formulate a diagnosis, much less proceed to surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question is, what do you mean by feel? What is that? Is that an emotion? Is it a motivation?
Yes, Jordan, you are making the point that they should go through years of therapy before they make this decision. You are making that point admirably, and they should. No one should get that type of surgery without going through years and years and years and years and years of therapy to make sure that is what they want, to have someone to challenge them. And therapists are doing a really shitty job at this, if we're honest about it. There is a very big problem with the APA, the American Psychological Association, and the American Psychiatric Association in how therapists are working with people in regards to this issue. That is 100% true. And if Jordan Peterson were making that point, I would be completely and totally on board with him. However, that's not the point that he's making. That's not the point that he's making. So just because that is true, that problem does absolutely exist, I am still not in favor of the state legislating what adults can and cannot do with their own bodies.
Is it a philosophical
So-
conclusion? What is
So
it?
let
this
me explain.
feeling?
Let me explain to you what I mean. So I've been doing my show for about a decade, and about 2 or 3 years into doing my show, there were some stories here and there that I covered about the trans issue. Somebody who is trans reached out to me and explained to me in a very straightforward way. Yeah, look, I was born biologically female. I feel like I'm biologically male. My reality
does that
never lined
mean?
up. Well, I'm just explaining what they said, and then you can respond however you'd like to respond. And they told me as soon as I got the surgery, changed the way I dressed, changed the way I appeared, I
You
felt
literally
phenomenally
have.
better.
You just
And
ignored
so
it.
that's
Hang
why-
on. You haven't heard Jordan Peterson say that explicitly? Yes, you have. He said it earlier. Kyle Kalinske asked him, should we be banning this type of surgery? And he said, I don't know. And then, so you have heard him say that, because that wasn't a no. That wasn't a no. Just because you don't want to admit that you heard him say that doesn't mean you didn't hear him say that. If you all ever wonder why people on the left don't wake up to the crazy shit on their side, just keep in mind that we literally just watched Jordan Peterson not say that he would respect an adult's decision in regards to do with what they want to with their own body. We just saw Jordan Peterson say, I don't know if maybe the state should outlaw this trans surgery for adults. We literally just saw him say that, and people in my chat right now are being like, Jordan Peterson never said that. We literally just watched it less than half an hour ago. Right in front of you. If you want to know why people on the left don't wake up, it's because people on the right don't wake up either.
Why, at least for me, this was the answer. Now, I think you would be incredibly arrogant for me to say back to that person, no, you shouldn't do that, or I know better than you do for yourself. And that's not to say that every time somebody does this, it works out well, of course, because everybody's an individual. But in some instances, that's the answer. So, me as a simple outsider, I just look at it and say, hey, whatever floats your boat, and if it works, it works.
Look, most of the time, my attitude is you can go to hell in handbasket any way you choose if you're an adult. Now, this problem is complicated and compounded by the fact of the necessity of medical involvement and the ethics on the medical front. So when you asked me about how that should be regulated, my answer was, I'm not exactly sure about that.
Yeah,
Although it isn't obvious to me that it's obvious to me that the trans surgery enterprise has gone way too far, thousands of people too far. And I'm certain that it's harmed exponentially more people than it's helped.
All right.
Based on what? Based on what? Based on what is Jordan Peterson sure that it has harmed exponentially more people than it's helped? Because that to me sounds like something he just made up. Now that might be true, but I want to see the data. I want to see the evidence that trans surgery has harmed exponentially more people than it's helped. That sounds like something Jordan Peterson literally just made up in order to bolster his notion that possibly we should be outlawing things that adults can do with their own body. Maybe he'll provide data in the full form interview. Let's listen.
Guys, what you just saw was a teaser clip from my podcast with Dr. Jordan Peterson. So you have to see the whole thing. I don't want anybody to think, oh my God, this is out of context or that's out of context. No, the full thing is available to watch, totally unedited. You have to check it out. There's two ways you could do that. Number one, sign up on Substack for free and get the full audio version of the podcast, which drops tomorrow. Crystal Kyle and friends. Again, the link will be in the video description box below. You'll see the link. Sign up for free on Substack. You get the full audio version of the podcast completely unedited. Or if you can't wait until tomorrow, you can get it today. The full video version of the podcast drops today. It's $5 a month. Not only will you get this podcast today, the video version, every single time there's a Crystal Kyle and friends, you'll get it a day early, and you'll get the full video version as opposed to the audio version. So again, it was a phenomenal conversation.
Where, Kyle?
To see the entire thing. It was both cordial and contentious at the same time. It's golden. I had a blast doing it. I hope he did too.
Where is the full version, Kyle? I want the full video version. Where is it? Oh, it's as a subscriber on Substack. I see. All right. Well, I'm not paying Kyle Kalinske $5. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. But I think the moral of the story here is I'm reasonably positive that Jordan Peterson is sold out. And that makes me very sad. I'm not happy to say that. I'm really not. Now, I did run a poll that asked you guys if you thought Jordan Peterson had sold out. And let me just see. Let me see. We have about 100 votes, and 33% of you do think that Jordan Peterson is sold out. So, less people than I think, probably should have. But you know what? 67% of you think he hasn't yet. I genuinely do hope that those 67% of people are correct. I really do hope. But I'm gonna pay attention to this. And again, I wish that Jordan Peterson was more focused on serving the audience that he has, the audience that is millions of people all over the world that are deeply receptive to his message, than he is on having wars with Twitter and getting his multi-million-dollar contract with the Daily Wire. All right, guys, that's all I have for tonight. Again, I'm gonna go to bed because I'm not gonna do a 7-hour stream. I only did a 3-hour stream tonight. My haters on Twitter be like, "Oh my god, did you see that Carlin streamed for 3 hours complaining about Jordan Peterson selling out for the Daily Wire?" Guys, if you would like to support the work I'm doing and have one-on-one conversations with me in my locals community where we do private Zoom calls every Monday and Wednesday, you can get access to that by heading over to kb.locals.com/support, and you can join up for totally free for 1 month. Just use the promo code July when you sign up, and that will give you a free month in my locals community. And you can come to my community Zooms and you can find out whether or not I actually kick out everyone who disagrees with me. Spoiler alert, I don't. You can come into my locals community and have conversations with awesome people, help keep your sanity. Honestly, my locals is the most sane place on the internet, and I truly do believe I have the best community on all of locals because we are an actual community, not just a place where the content creator posts a bunch of links and then has the sycophants kiss their asses. We do actually interact as a community. You will get access to not only our community Zoom calls, you will get access to the supporter only Discord, you will get access to the writers group, you will get access to all sorts of amazing stuff, and you can try it out for free for 1 month by heading over to kb.locals.com/support and using the promo code July. That is pinned to the top of the chat. You can also find it in the description below. And guys, thank you for hanging out with me tonight and spending some time. And I guess some of you kind of commiserating with me as we're getting through this realization that Jordan Peterson may have sold out, which really upsets me on a level that I can't even begin to explain. But I'm going to go cry my tears in my bed. Not really. I'm not going to cry. It's going to be fine. But I am going to go to sleep, guys. But have a good night, and we'll see you soon. Bye.